God, I have like so many windows open. I almost wish I. Well, I do have like plenty of monitors, but like I don't have anywhere to put them. And there's so much screen space I need. I didn't realize it until holy fuck! Like start streaming, you need like 10 million windows open, and doing game dev also need 10 million windows open. But yes, welcome to all those who are already here, and welcome to those who are not here yet. And welcome to those who will never be. Are we ready to rumble? God. Hell yeah. And I got the video up already. Hell yeah. I'm gonna just be watching random shit because I don't know what to put on. And I feel like learning about the built-in character controller a bit more, so let's fucking go. Alright, I'm gonna pop a cough drop. That's slang for on-stream ecstasy. That hauls. Love to see it. Honey cough drop. Good for the soul. Alright. Well, I don't even remember where I left off last stream. But I've gotten a lot done since then. I basically finished the like placing the prefabs for the buildings. And you can think of this work as it is here as like the flat colors of a illustration. Like the gray box was the sketch. This is the flat colors. And then adding the props and the set dressing and the kind of like the rest of it, that would be the shading. And I suppose the actual delivery mechanics be the background, but that's getting a bit abstract. So yeah, let's place the video on and we will begin our game dev experience into madness. Let's go.
So we want to get our characters moving using Unity's
What's up, Nikki? How you doing?
But we have no idea how it all works. Not a problem. Today we are going to break down and apply the methods and properties available
I love this guy.
with Unity's built-in character controller. That way we can make any modifications necessary so that movement feels just right in our own games. Welcome to iHeart Game Dev, my channel all about
And
games.
hopefully it's
If
not
you
too
enjoyed
loud or
today's
too
video,
soft. If
please
it is,
consider
please let
liking
me
and
know.
subscribing. And now, let's get started.
Can't be having that.
For this project, we have a small environment equipped for testing the built-in character controller. In the inspector, we'll see a parent character game object, which will host the built-in character controller component and a movement script. The child of the character game object is the downloaded Jammo character model featured in the hit YouTube channel Mix and Jam.
Oh, it's Jammo!
Okay. When we add the built-in character controller component directly using add
Not to be
component
confused
and
with
character controller,
J-Slot's
the game
cat
object will
Jammo.
gain access to a list of methods and properties. The most immediate and visible difference when first adding the character controller is the capsule collider included with the component. Using center, radius, and height,
Get
we can
capsules,
properly align
idiot.
the collider with our character model of the child component so that it interacts with colliders as we would expect it to. Typically, we align the collider at the center point of the character, followed by adjusting the height so that the collider reaches both the feet and head, and the radius to fit comfortably around the character's body. Character controllers are designed to provide collision detection and movement to our characters. It's important to understand that this parent character game object is in control of these two things. Even if we disable Jammo, the capsule collider still moves and still collides. Jammo is merely cosmetic. It's also
Jammo, your life is unimportant in the grand scheme of things. You are merely cosmetic.
It will always stay aligned on the world Y-axis. This is definitely something to take into consideration when.
I'll also have to adjust the colliders of the buildings a bit.
The right fit. Or if it makes more sense to use a kinematic or dynamic rigid body instead with a separate collider, which is a completely different type of character controller that we'll cover in the future. The min-move distance property sets the smallest change in distance required for our character controller to actually perform the move. While recommended to typically have this property set to 0, it's worth noting that the property exists to begin with to remove potential unwanted jitter. For instance, if our movement code includes some form of deceleration that for whatever reason doesn't always reset its speed to an exact value of 0, then we can set a small min-move distance to prevent the character from continuing to move despite the speed not being exactly at 0. It's worth noting that this number should remain incredibly small. Min-move distance is evaluating the change in distance between the current position and its next position after the movement method would be applied. This distance is typically a small fraction added every frame because our movement logic is programmed to be frame rate independent. The skin width property is designed to prevent characters from getting stuck inside of other colliders. Think of it as the first layer of
feel my
defense
brain
for a head-on
expanding,
collision.
learning so much.
When the collision is directly perpendicular to the direction that the controller is moving, the skin width will stop the character controller from continuing to move in that given direction. At an angle, the character controller skin will allow some penetration, but will still prevent the controller from fully reaching the original collider. And when the incoming collider runs parallel to the direction that the character controller is moving, the skin width is ignored. Research indicates that this is intended to prevent the character controller from penetrating and getting stuck inside of other colliders, providing a personal space between the character controller and the environment or other characters. It's recommended in the docs that the skin width is around 10% of the value given to the radius property. The step offset value equates to the height of an incoming game object, or more specifically, the height of its collider that the move or simple move character controller methods will automatically mount and climb when the collision is detected. This is measured from the bottom of the character controller's capsule collider to the height of the collision points collider where the collision occurs. If the height of the collider is greater than the step offset, the character controller will not step up. And as we can imagine, the name step offset indicates this property's usefulness for handling movement up steps. The final inspector property is the first on the list, the character controller's slope limit. This value dictates the degree angle that our character controller will climb. Anything with a higher angle and the character controller will stop completely. And of course, anything lower and the character controller will be able to move up and down. Before we move on to learning about the two methods move and simple move, there's still a few properties accessible to the built-in character controller that we can find in Unity's docs. Detect collisions, enable overlap recovery, collision flags, is grounded, and velocity.
Evolution is a lie. You're
Detect
grounded.
collisions will enable and disable collision detection from incoming rigid bodies, and will allow the character controller's collider to avoid impacting rigid bodies altogether. It handles each of these situations differently. If detect collisions is disabled and a rigid body collides with our moving character,
Nice.
the character will just
Let's make
over
this
instead of
orange,
a
actually.
step offset.
Match the.
However,
No, we'll make
if
it
the
red.
character is stationary, meaning that neither of the
That's
two
good.
move methods are actively being called, the rigid body will just pass through. When would we actually use this? The main use case would be scripted events in our games. If a game says press X to enter a car, typically there's a scripted animation that will have the character enter the car, which has its own set of colliders. We'll notice that the animation moves Jammo, but not the character controller. So this would be the perfect instance to disable collisions, reposition the center of the character controller's collider to realign with Jammo, and avoid
There's a
impacting
bigger
the car's
staircase
rigid body.
somewhere. Where did I see it?
Enabled by default,
It's not
enable
this one, is
overlap
it? No, it
recovery
can't
is
be.
used to depenetrate the character
Way too
controller
small.
from static
Unless
game
it's
object colliders
side by
when an overlap is
side?
detected.
No.
What
it's-
this means is if our character were to
Well, I guess it
somehow
needs to be a different
through
material
collider
first
of
of
an
all.
object that is, quote, static meaning it does not move at runtime,
Red?
Unity will
No,
automatically
definitely not
try to
break.
push our character controller
After.
out of the static
No
object
idea.
in the closest point available. It's worth
Stone.
mentioning that
Stone
without
works.
the character controller's move or simple move function being called, the character controller will not be removed from the collider.
Yeah, stone's
But
perfect.
once the movement is invoked, they will
Oh,
immediately
stone is
be
actually the
removed.
exact one I needed. Okay.
Collision flags are points on the character controller's collider that tell us where the collision is occurring. There are collision flags on the bottom, middle, and top of the character controller's collider, allowing us to see which part of the character controller is included in the collision. For instance, the bottom collision flag, titled Below, is true when the character controller is touching the ground and false when it's not. And it just so happens that the isGrounded property is set to the Below collision flag. However, collision flags function a little differently than expected. Collisions are detected based on the last invocation of the move or simple move functions. What this means is that even if the character controller is touching another collider, if the controller's movement is not in the direction of the collider, then the collision flag will not be true. For example, even if the character controller's transform Y value is at 0, and so is the ground collider, if the vertical velocity is set to 0, then the character controller is technically hovering, and isGrounded will be false. Understanding this will be really helpful when programming a proper jump implementation. Another main concern with collision flags is that they aren't the most specific. We don't know if the collision is from the side, the back, or the front of the character controller. A nice to have feature or improvement would be to have these collision flags be a little more detailed, possibly providing the direction of a given collision relative to where the character controller is currently facing.
What's that offset?
Lastly, we have velocity, which will simply tell us the current velocity of our character controller, but more specifically,
it's
the velocity
barely
created
offset
from
on.
the move and
That's
simple
fine.
move methods. It will not take into account any added movement from outside sources. Say, if we were on a moving platform, it's specifically the character controller's movement. And that covers all of the proprietary properties of the built-in character controller. Let's learn about the two movement methods.
Yes.
Move and simple move are both methods that accept vector 3s as their arguments. A vector 3 is basically a coordinate point in the x, y, and z axis. Move and simple move take the current position of our character controller, which is its own vector 3, and add this new vector 3 value. This change is what moves our character controller in a given direction. As shown here, as we modify the vector 3 that's being passed to the move method, the character controller consistently moves on the x, y, and z axis, and detects collisions depending on the direction it's moving. We may find it helpful to understand the distinction between
Damn, I
the
really
moving
gotta
character controller and the
Bring
animation
this
of the child character
grid size
movement.
down if I want to get these to snap.
It's relatively
Goddamn.
eye-opening when playing renowned games like Mario and Zelda, and then realizing that both characters are there for cosmetic purposes, and that there's likely a capsule collider or something similar actually handling the movement. Now, there are noteworthy differences between move and simple move. Focusing on simple move, this method is frame rate independent. What this means is that behind the scenes, the vector 3 that we pass in as an argument is likely multiplied by time.delta time without us having to do so ourselves. Time.delta time is the time since the previous frame was drawn. In other words, a fraction of a second. So when we multiply our vector 3 by time.delta time, this typically makes the distance moved per frame much smaller. Frame rate independence isn't something that's exclusive to Simple Move. It's just something that's automatically done for us instead. If we were to switch to the move method, we would need to first multiply the vector 3 by time.delta time before passing it to the method. Otherwise, our character would move at crazy and inconsistent speeds.
Look at him go.
Additionally, Simple Move completely disregards the change in the y-axis and applies gravity by default. For this reason, if we plan on having our character jump, Simple Move is just not the right choice.
I like blue. Blue looks
Move
nice.
is a much more versatile
who's
method
calling
and
me?
requires more work.
Spam, get out of here.
We can get a jump working, but we will also need to remember to add that time.delta time multiplier to make it frame rate independent too. For both, it's also recommended that each method is only invoked once per update. This is worth remembering because move and simple move impact other properties like the isGrounded boolean and the collision flags. So calling these methods more than once can lead to some unexpected and unwanted results. The last method we'll cover today is the onController collider hit callback method. Like many of the other properties, this callback function is a direct result of the move and simple move methods. What this means is that when our character controller is moving and it hits another collider, this method will be invoked, and will grant direct access to the game object that is part of the collision.
What?
However, if an opposing game object collides with our character controller while our character is not moving,
Oh, did I fuck
this
up? Oh,
method
I
is
fucked
not
up.
called. With access to the other game object, we can program custom reactions to the collisions. Okay,
I do not
now
want
that we
these
have a
ones.
solid understanding of these properties and methods, our next step in this series on character controllers is to learn to control the built-in character controller's movement with the new input system and how to tie that together with our character's animations. Stay tuned for the next video, coming soon. In the future, we'll learn all about movement with dynamic rigid
future.
bodies. And not too long after, we'll start taking a
Whoa,
deep
hello,
dive into
Zappa.
Unity's animation rigging
How you
package.
doing? You're up so
If you
early.
want
Oh my
support
goodness.
content just
It's like
like
10
this
a.m.
on this
here,
channel,
and that would
please
be like
consider liking the
like
video
7
and
for you,
subscribing
jeez.
to the channel. It tells me that I'm covering content that you care about. And if you want to join an awesome growing community, you are invited to join the channel Discord. The link is in the description. For updates on the next video, feel free to follow me on Twitter. But that is all for today. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.
Next video. Can you believe it? It's already time. Let's see. Where do we got? What do we got? We'll just put on like a playlist in the sky. Fuck it. I like them. Why is there so little? There we go.
So we want to get our characters moving using Unity's built-in character controller. But we have
Goodness
no
gracious,
idea
do
how
I
to
ever.
Not a problem. Today we are going to break down and apply the methods and properties available to us with Unity's built-in character controller. That way we can make any modifications necessary so that movement.
Oh, you're so sweet to join. You don't have to join just for me.
Welcome to
That's so sweet of you, though.
My channel all about game development. If you enjoyed
Always good to have you
video,
around.
please consider liking and subscribing. And now let's get started.
I renamed the wrong thing. Shit. I meant to rename this. There.
For this project, we have a small environment equipped for testing the built-in character controller. In the inspector, we'll see a parent character game object, which will host the built-in character controller component and a movement script. The child of the character game object is the downloaded Jammo character model featured in the hit YouTube channel Mix and Jam. Okay. When we add the built-in character controller component,
Which
directly
mixes
using
my
add
jam.
component and searching for character controller, the game object will gain access to a list of methods and properties. The most immediate and visible difference when first adding the character controller is the capsule collider included with the component.
Oh, it's in here to
center,
watch this one?
radius, and
Yeah, I'll
height,
watch it
we
again,
can
fuck it.
promptly
I wasn't
align
really
the
paying
collider
attention.
with our character model of the child component so that it interacts with colliders as we would
I was in
expect.
the zone.
Typically, we align the
The
collider
auto
at
zone.
the center point of the character, followed by adjusting
Oh, I
height
fucked
so
up
that
the
collider
fucking-
reaches
goddamn
both
it.
the
Oh, well,
feet
that's
and
fine.
head, and the radius to fit
Head.
comfortably around the character's body. Character controllers are designed to provide collision detection and movement.
I can't believe I fucked up
It's
the
important
square
to
by like a
understand
millimeter. Are you
that the character
kidding?
game object is in
Hate to
control
see
of
it.
the suit.
Hate to see it.
Even if we disable Jammo, the capsule collider still moves and still collides. Jammo is merely cosmetic. It's also worth noting that even through code, we cannot rotate the built-in character controller's
Oh,
collider.
well, that's good
It
enough.
will always stay aligned on the
Are the
world's
stairs not
y-axis.
touching either? What the
This is
fuck,
definitely
Richard?
something to
Oh
take
my
into
goodness.
consideration when planning your games
I'm
and
a
deciding
mess.
if the built-in character controller is the right fit. Or if it makes more sense to use a kinematic or dynamic rigid body instead with a separate collider, which is a completely different type of character controller that will
Maybe
cover
no
in
one
the
will
future.
notice. You know
The
how it be.
min-move distance property sets the smallest change in distance required for our character controller to actually perform the move. While recommended to typically have this property set to 0, it's worth noting that the property exists to begin with to remove potential unwanted jitter.
Pop
For
Jordan in
instance,
bio.
if our movement code
What will
includes
she
some
learn?
form of deceleration that for whatever reason doesn't always reset its speed to an exact value of 0, then we can set a small min-move distance to prevent the character from continuing to move despite the speed not being exactly at 0. It's worth noting that this number should remain incredibly small. Min-move distance is evaluating the change in distance between the current position and its next position after the movement method would be applied.
Hey, congratulations.
This distance is typically a small fraction added every frame because
You
our
love to
movement
see it.
logic is programmed to be frame rate independent. The skin width property is designed to prevent characters from getting stuck inside of other colliders. Think of it as the first layer of defense for a head-on collision. When the collision is directly perpendicular to the direction that the controller is moving, the skin width will stop the character controller from continuing to move in that
I
given
wish you
direction.
all of the luck, fam squad.
At an angle, the character
Squad
controller
fam.
skin will allow some penetration, but will still
Penetration?
prevent the controller from fully
Oh, yeah, I already
reaching
made that
the
joke.
collider.
We've come full
And
circle.
when the incoming collider runs parallel to the direction that the character controller is moving, the skin width is ignored. Research
Hey, baby
indicates
girl,
that
how
this is intended to
thin's your
prevent the
skin?
character controller from penetrating
that not
and
say
getting
it?
stuck inside of other colliders,
Stop.
providing a personal space between the character controller
There we
and the
go.
environment or other characters. It's recommended in the docs that the skin width is around 10% of the value given to the radius property.
I don't.
The step
Oh, I guess you
offset
can
value
land in here.
equates to the
Shit.
height
So I
of the
can't
incoming game
do my
object, or
initial
more specifically, the height
idea.
of
I'll
the
have to
collider
actually
that
fucking
the
big
move
brain
or
this.
simple
Okay.
move character controller methods will automatically mount and climb when the collision is detected.
Me when she fucking mounts and climbs me.
This is
Ayo.
moving from the bottom of the character controller's capsule collider to the height of the collision points collider where the collision occurs. If the height
There
of the
we-
collider is greater than the step offset, the character controller will not step up. And as we can imagine, the name step offset indicates this property's usefulness for handling movement up steps.
Oh, don't worry. These are good invisible walls.
The
These are the
final
ones that
inspector
let you
property is
move
the first
smoothly.
on the list.
The ones that I should have put on initially but did not.
This value
Because as you
dictates
can
the
see, I have a
degree of
mesh
angle
collider
that
on
the
this.
character controller will
So it's
cover.
like it'll
If
count
anything
these
with a
little
height
indents
angle,
of the
character
windows
controller will stop
as
the
part of the
flow.
mesh, and that'll really disrupt
And of
wall
course,
running and
anything
climbing and
lower
shit.
and the character
So
controller
I
will
gotta
be
kind
able
of
to
like
move up
put
and down.
this over that, so I don't. So I kind of
Before we
fucked
move
up,
on to
and
the
now I have
other
extra
two
work to do.
methods
But
of
that's
move
fine.
and simple move, there's still a few properties accessible to the built-in character controller that we can find in Unity's docs.
Luckily, I don't
Collision,
think I have to do all of them, and I
collision
can copy
recovery,
paste a lot of
collision
it,
flags,
so it's
is
fine.
grounded, and velocity. Detect collisions will enable and disable collision detection from incoming rigid bodies, and will allow the character controller's collider to avoid impacting rigid bodies altogether. It handles each of these situations differently. If detect collisions is disabled and a rigid body collides with our moving character, the character will just step over it, similar to step offset. However, if the character is stationary, meaning that neither of the two move methods are actively being called, the rigid body will
I
just
want it
pass
to be a
through.
bit thicker than the
When
actual
will we
wall,
actually
just so
use
that
this?
I
In
reduce
the main
any,
use case would
clipping.
be scripted events in our games. If a game says press X to enter a
Oh, you
car,
will. Don't worry.
typically
It'll be
there's a
buggy as
scripted
hell.
animation that will have the
Oh,
character
actually,
enter the car.
that
It's
reminds
its
me.
own set of
While I'm
colliders.
here,
We'll notice that the animation moves Jammo.
I
but
gotta
not the
check the
character.
input for the move on controller.
So this would be the perfect instance to disable collisions. Reposition
Oh, what
center
the hell?
of
No, it's
character
here.
controller's collider to realign with
Why did it
Jammo
not
and
work?
avoid
It's so weird.
impacting the car's rigid body.
Right stick? That's look, right? That's like look on a
Enabled by default, enable overlap recovery is used to depenetrate
value
the
vector
character
2.
controller from static
It's a
game
value,
object
right?
colliders
Yeah, it's
when an
vector 2.
overlap is detected. What this means
I'll
is
have
if your
to
character
try that
will
out
somehow
myself.
penetrate through a collider
South,
with
if
an
you're still
object that is,
listening,
quote,
were you able to
static, meaning
move
it does not move
when
at
you were
one
when
Unity
you were
will
playing with the
automatically
controller?
try to push our
Was it
character
only the look that
controller
was
out of
kind of
the
like
static
not
object
working, or
to
was
the
it
closest point
also the
available.
move?
It's worth mentioning that without the character controller's move or simple move function being called, the character controller will not be removed from the collider. But once the movement is invoked, they will immediately be removed. Collision flags are points on the character controller's collider that tell us where the collision is occurring. There are collision flags on the bottom, middle, and top of the character controller's collider, allowing us to see which part of the character controller is included in the collision. For instance, the bottom collision flag, titled Below, is true when the character controller is touching the ground and false when it's not.
I don't think why it didn't work. Oh, it
It
might
so
be something in the
happens
input
that
manager,
grounded
maybe?
property is set to the Below
That
collision
I made?
flag.
Let's look at that.
However, collision
I was hoping it
flags
would be an
function
easy
a little
fix, but it might
differently
not
than
be.
expected.
Shit. Let's see what we got.
Collisions are detected based on the last invocation of the move or simple move functions. What this means
Okay,
is
so
that
you can
even if the
move.
character controller is touching
You just
another
can
collider,
look. So it has to be
collider's
an
movement
input
is not in
manager
the
thing.
direction of the collider,
That's the
so
only thing I
collision
can think
flag
of.
will
I'll have to
not be
look,
true.
see what else there is. But
For
action,
example,
look,
even
action.
if the character controller's transform Y value is at 0, and so is the ground collider, if the vertical velocity is set to 0,
I
then
think
the
I
character controller is technically
might
and
know.
is grounded will be false.
Jesus Christ, the frame rate. All right.
Understanding this will be really helpful when programming a proper jump implementation. Another main concern with collision flags is that
I actually think I know exactly what it is.
Know if the collision is on the side, the back, or the front
I
of the
didn't
character controller.
mess with
A
the
nice to have feature or improvement would be to have these collision flags
camera
be a little
scripts
more
much.
detailed.
And I
Possibly
probably
by
didn't make
using
it so that it
directions
uses that input
relative
action. It
to
probably
the
uses its own
character
thing.
controller is currently facing.
So I'll have to actually go into that and
Lastly,
add
we
that.
have velocity, which will simply tell us the current velocity.
That makes
for
so much
character.
sense. Okay, yeah, this has to
More
be it.
specifically, the velocity created from the move and simple move methods. It will not take into account any added movement from outside sources. Say, if we were on a moving platform, it's specifically the character
Yep.
controller.
Yeah, here it is.
And that covers all of the proprietary properties of the built-in character controller.
So where's this coming from?
Let's learn about the two movement methods. Move and simple move are both methods that accept vector 3s as their
Yep,
arguments.
here it is. All right.
A vector
I
3
figured it
is
out.
simply a
Hell
vector
yeah, we're
with
geniuses.
X, Y, and Z axes.
Thank you, Selpa, for your
Move
help.
and simple move take the current position of
What
our
the fuck did I
character
call it? Oh yeah,
controller,
input manager.
which is
And
its
then
own vector 3,
instance
and add this new vector
look
3 value.
action dot x. Nope, that's not
This
it.
change
Dot
is what moves our
3
character controller
value
in a given direction.
vector 2 dot x. There we go.
As shown here, as we modify
And
the
then this
vector
will be
3 that's
y
being
because
passed
it's
to
a
the move
vector
method,
2.
the character controller consistently moves on the X, Y, and Z axis, and detects collisions.
And then rotate camera
We may find it helpful to
will be
understand
the
the
same
distinction between
thing.
moving the character
No, it's fine.
and the animations of the child character
No,
model.
it's not fine. Where the hell is this? Okay.
It's relatively eye-opening when playing renowned games like Mario and Zelda, and then realizing that both characters are there.
Yoink this out of here.
And that there's likely a capsule collider or something similar actually handling the movement. Now, there are noteworthy differences between move and simple move. Focusing on simple move, this method is frame rate independent. What this means is that behind the scenes, the vector 3 that we pass in as an argument is likely multiplied by time.delta time without us having to do so ourselves.
Okay, there we go.
Time
Oh, wait,
delta
no,
time
no,
is
no, no, no,
the
no, no, I don't need to
this
do that.
frame was drawn. In other words, a fraction of a second.
That actually should be good,
So when we multiply our
because
vector
this
3
will
by
call
time
rotate
delta time,
camera,
this typically makes
and
the
give these
distance of the
values,
frame much smaller.
and these are the values.
Frame
Okay,
rate
yeah, so this should be fine.
independence isn't something that's
The
exclusive
camera
to simple
speed
move,
sensitivity
which is
thing
something
might be a
that's
little fucked,
automatically done for us instead.
but we can adjust that easily, so.
If we were to switch to the move method, we would need to first multiply the vector 3 by time.delta time before passing it to the method. Otherwise, our character would move at crazy and inconsistent speeds.
Imagine. My head's
Additionally,
kind of
simple
blocking the
move
chat, isn't it? I
completely
gotta move myself
disregards
down.
the change in the y-axis
Good girl,
and
why you
applies
so
gravity
ears?
by default. For this reason, if we plan on having
There
our
we go.
character jump, simple move is just not the right choice. Move is a
Okay.
much more versatile method, but
See how
requires
fucked
more
the sensitivity is
we
now.
can get a jump working,
'Cause
but
I
we
did
will
not
also
account
need to
for
remember
the right
to
thing.
add that time.delta time multiplier to make it frame rate independent too. For both, it's also recommended that each method is only invoked once per update. This is worth remembering because move and simple move impact other properties, like the isGrounded boolean and the collision flags. So calling these methods more than once can lead to some unexpected and unwanted results. The last method we'll cover today is the onController Collider hit callback method. Like many of the other properties, this callback function
Watch
is
it
a
be like
direct
super
result of
fast.
the move and
It's either gonna be
simple
super fast or super
What this
slow. I think
means
it's gonna be
is that
super
when our
fast.
character controller is moving and it hits another collider, this method will be invoked, and will
It
grant
speaks to
direct
me. I had a
access to the game
vision.
object that is part of the collision. However, if an opposing game object collides with our character controller while our character is not moving, this method is not called.
It's loading. It's
With
getting
access
there.
to the
It's
other
chugging.
game object, we can program custom reactions to the collision.
Come on, baby girl, you can do it. Don't give up. Don't give up. Never surrender.
Okay, now that we have a solid understanding of these properties and methods, our next step in this series on
Oh my god, it's
is
actually
to learn to control the built-in
fine.
character controller's movement with the new
It's actually not.
animations
Oh my god,
and how
I
to tie
slid.
that together with our character's animations.
It's actually not
The
bad.
next video, coming soon.
It's actually kind of perfect. It's exactly where it was before, so
In the
hey.
future, we'll learn all about movement with dynamic
That's
rigid
good.
bodies. And
That's
not
great.
too long after, we'll
I don't have to
start
actually
diving
adjust
into
much of
Unity's
anything.
animation rigging package. If you want
Amazing.
to support content just like this on this channel, please consider liking the video.
I might have to
and
restart my
subscribing
computer
to
though, because holy shit, is it
Show me
chugging.
that I'm covering content that you care about. And if you want to join an awesome growing community, you are invited to join the channel Discord. The link is in the description. For updates on the next video, feel free to follow me on Twitter. But that is all for today. Thank you.
Goodbye, Nikki. Have fun. Okay. I don't know if I can. I might actually just slap
So we
a
want to get our characters moving using Unity's
some
built-in
songs
music.
on, some
We have
music,
no
some
idea
music,
how it all works. Not
some
a
royalty-free
problem.
music, of course, because
Today
I don't
we're
want
going
this
break
shit to be
down and
muted.
apply the method
Let's put on some fucking Mediterranean lo-fi. Is that a thing? That sounds like a thing. Relaxing ancient Greek music, and that's totally AI. There's like an epidemic. Let me just say, there's like an epidemic on YouTube of fucking AI generated lo-fi beats, first of all, but also just like music channels in general using AI generated dog shit for like their, backgrounds and thumbnails and whatnot. And the fact that it's getting hard to tell, like, fucks me up. Like, it blows my pussy off. I hate it. Like, it's egregious. Like, I don't know what to do about it. And it is just like all like AI generated dog shit. Like, it's like the music itself is AI generated. Like, sometimes it'll claim. And they all say the same shit in the fucking description. It's obviously AI generated because you can just tell. Especially if you're like an artist. And you can tell, like, oh, why does that clock face look like that? Or like, why does the text look like it doesn't actually say anything? And they'll all say the same shit in the description. Like, oh, the art was made like, in-house by our team. Like, no the fuck it wasn't. You just opened up Midjourney. Don't lie. I will say though, this one's nice because this one that I have on now actually credits the musician and let's see if it credits the artist. I don't know. Is there an artist in here? This is only a musical illustration. It may be very different from the actual conditions of music history in certain areas. I don't. There's no like tells in this image if it's like AI generated. It's all brick, so that can be kind of. I think it is, because these bricks are very not straight. So maybe it is. I don't know, but I'm not here to analyze somebody's art. Music itself is made by people, at least. So that's good. Anyway, tangent over. Let's get back to fucking deving it up. The fucking bakery keeps trying to generate the light every time I play. I hate that shit. Hate it. Hate it. Oh, I have coffee. Keep forgetting. It's like a gift to myself from the past. Also, I changed the resolution of my monitor. It's still wide, obviously, because, it's a wide monitor, but I made it 1080p instead of, like, 1440p, I guess. Mainly so that people can see the fucking actual shit that's on the screen a bit better. Because I realized that with a higher resolution, as much space as it was nice. I kind of want people to be able to see what I'm doing. Space there? Oh, there's like a little sliver of space. No, there isn't. No, I'm hallucinating. Where am I? I'm not hallucinating. I'm not gatekeeping girl bossing myself. There's absolutely a bit of space there, isn't there? It's fine. Fuck it. I don't care. I genuinely do not care. It's fine. This is like one staircase in this whole ass area. It's fine. There was a staircase I forgot to texture somewhere. Where was it? Where the fuck was it? It's over here. Because there's like one orange staircase, and I genuinely don't remember where it is. Oh, here's a flower wall I forgot to get rid of. Perfect. Amazing. Dare I say extraordinary. Awesome. Now I gotta find that fucking staircase. Where is it? It's gotta be somewhere. It is somewhere. Oh, here it is. No, that's not it. It's not the orange of the floor. I thought that was it, but nope. I'm gonna actually die. Like, where the fuck did I... Because I saw it multiple times while playtesting. It's in here somewhere. Hello. How are you? Am I just, like, blind? Like, where the fuck? Look for the big blob of, like, orange, I guess. If you see it, you're legally obligated to tell me. Because it's here. I know that for a fact. Just can't remember where. Baby! Hey, my cat's here. What's up, baby? Oh my goodness, it's so late over there. I'm just barely starting my day. Well, have a good sleep. Thank you for popping in. Always happy to see people around. I guess I'm gonna just move on, and if I find it, I find it, but if not, well, fuck. Oh, that's so annoying, though, because I know it's in here somewhere. Oh. No, you're all good. I'm half memeing, half serious. Because if somebody sees it, please by all means tell me, but I don't actually expect anybody to be able to see it any better than me. Oops. This is one thing I wanted to fix, though. Oh, fuck. Changing it on the Z, so we'll just do this. Oh, hey, that might actually have been it. Nope, wasn't it. Okay. We'll try... Da, 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 da. Nope, wrong one. 2.5 might be it. Oh, 2.5 is perfect. Look at how flat that is. Hell yeah. This one will change to 2.5. Amazing. Oh, oh. I'm gonna fucking optimize my project a little bit, delete some things I'm not using, because it's starting to chug when I save. That's not good. I mean, it's inevitable, but it's also not ideal. I'm using that. What am I not using that's in here? I'm not really using the voice pack. I might use it actually. Well, we'll keep it for... Probably not adding that much bandwidth or whatever data. I'm using all of these. Let's find some other music, because this is not. It's good, but as happy as I am to find a music channel that's not giving me AI generated dog shit. Let's see. Yeah, fuck it, we'll put a video on again. Put something on in the background. Oh, I know. We'll watch that Pirate Software video I found the other day. Very good, very helpful, very nice. Hey, video games, here it is. Such a good video. Like, this is this is probably like my absolutely favorite game dev like videos that I found in recent history. Wait, no, there we go. Amazing.
Hello, Fridge people.
Fridge people.
What's up? So, for all you new guys, my name is Thor. I make video
Hello,
games.
Thor.
Been in the gaming industry for 18 years. Used to
Love his voice. Love it. Love his locks too. His hair. Hair's amazing.
All the way until Overwatch, except for Burning Crusade, because I left for a while. And then I left and I worked at Amazon Game Studio on the Lumberyard game engine. And then I left that and I hacked power plants for the federal government. So I was a pen tester working at the DOE. And then I quit because I didn't like having my hair cut short. And I started my own indie studio called Pirate Software. Now I make games on the internet, and this is what I've done full-time for the last 5 years. I just make games, and I
Oh yeah, you know
build
Thor?
stuff on Twitch.
Yeah.
And
I don't think I actually
that's all
knew.
I've been doing. So, one of the things I wanted to talk to you guys about,
He's a fun
the biggest thing of all is
fun
our
person.
studio wouldn't exist without Twitch. Hands down. It wouldn't, what we're doing would not be
This is the first video I've ever seen by him, so like this is like a great first impression because I think he's amazing. Like his video is very nice.
Game development as a category now, which is really, really cool. But on top of that, it's shown that so many different people can
What's
come here
next
and make
on
their own
my
games,
Codex
which is
page?
something
Let's
that they
see.
didn't think they would be able to do. So I'm going to show you something. I put together a website called develop.games. How many of you guys out there ever wanted to make a game? And you were just like, I can't do this. I'm not a good programmer. I'm not a good artist. I'm not a good musician.
I'll pull this on screen just so you guys can see what I'm doing.
To do this.
I use this thing called Codex for my I was using Trello for a while, which is good. I still like Trello. But now I'm using this thing called Codex. And basically what it is it's made for game dev specifically. And it's kind of like a to-do list / organizer thing, like Trello. But you can like, you have these cards. And this is my hand that I have. So this is like my current to-do list. And then there's like decks of like stuff that you can have, like, for instance, like these are all the bugs that I had to take care of that I'm kind of working on now. And you add them to your handle. Who's fucking calling me? More spam? Are you kidding?
Oh my god.
Gosh.
How many
We live in a fucking society, my friends. Fucking spam callers out the ass. Alright. So then like you go to your hands and you like, as you finish them, you can just kind of like drag and drop them into your finished deck, and you get like little dopamine rush because you finished the task.
Now we're gonna see the dog for
Also, I'm gonna miss you. Have fun at work, my friend. Thank you for joining, and thank you for all of your input on fixing the game. I'm glad you told me about the look input because I never would have found that otherwise. So thank you, and hope you have a good day at work because you are amazing.
So, as I was saying, Thomas Was Alone is a game about rectangles that'll make you cry. You could have very little artistic ability to make this game. You could absolutely.
Doctor always said it was borderline artistic.
Even the particle effects. Let's look at this. Look at this. It's all particle effects that are rectangles. The objects are rectangles, and there's triangles in there. You can do this. It's programmer art. Nothing is stopping you from making this game. You go, oh well.
Nothing borderline about it. I got full on fucking 4-course meal, fucking military grade.
What about Suits of Business RPG?
Autism, not art. Well, art too, I guess. I'm pretty good at art, but I'm also really good at autism.
And then you play it. All of it is hand drawn. The entire game.
Some may say I am the best.
Nothing. The only thing that would stop you from making a game like
I don't like this jump here
fear,
because this was a bit difficult to make. So I'm gonna say, well, actually, I want to keep that height, and we're gonna say this is like 1.2, 5.
Thomas Was Alone is sitting at 93%.
Amazing.
Let's go to West of Loathing.
But I don't like the position either because it was kind of far away. So let's bump that. Actually, you know what? We're gonna just say 1, and then we're gonna say this is 1.2.
Stick figures. The whole thing is stick figures.
We'll move that up a bit so it's not peeking out of the ground, but it's very close.
It just needs to be fun.
Yeah, that's good. Nice, that, Jim.
That's all
That's
you have to do. So you look at this and you go, okay.
Also, I gotta
well,
get. Is the setup open right now?
Maybe I don't need to be an
It
artist.
is. I was
Maybe
wondering
can
why
just
the
make something
post-processing
funny.
was on.
Throw dynamite.
Coulda
at
done
it.
with that
It's
right now.
fine. You know, I could do that. I could do this. I can make this kind of stuff happen. We got Nepenthe here too. This was actually made by one of our community members, and this one was all scanned into a computer as well, like Suits of Business RPG, but it was done with colored pencil. Look at this.
Oh, get that food.
Playable
Eat.
game. Something you can pick
Nutrients,
up.
sustenance.
Nepenthe.
Important.
This stuff is awesome, and it doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be yours.
Okay.
And you get better at it. You get
When
better,
I
at it,
actually-
you get better at it. Make cooler and cooler stuff. So you go, okay. Well, I could do the art then. If that's the bar standard, I could do the art then.
I'll
But I
boost
can't
this
do
a
the
bit.
music. But you can. Let's go pull this up. We're gonna pull up Hidden Folks. Let's go pull up Hidden Folks real quick, and I'm gonna stop our stream music. By the way, all this music here on stream is from our game Heartbound. We have 100 songs in the OST. It's bananas. It's gonna be loud for a moment. Oh, got it.
Do 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 do. 0.5.
It's Where's Waldo with mouth noises.
Where's Waldo? Where is it?
If you can't make music, you can still make music. Do you have a microphone? Can you record your face? You can make this game.
Oh, yeah.
And it's charming, dude. It's charming and it's funny. It's called Hidden Folks. The whole
Really
thing
do
is
just
a
love to see it.
Logic game. And it's sitting at 97% positive on Steam. It's done really, really well. So inability to make music, inability to make perfect art, those two things are now out of there. They don't matter anymore. You can make a game if you don't have two of those things. You just need a cool idea, and you need to execute on it really well, right? Well, let's go to the last one. You're like, oh, well, I'm not a programmer, then I can't make that. Let's go to the final one. Undertale. You don't need to be an amazing programmer. Undertale had all of its dialogue in the entire game, put it in one giant switch case statement, and that was it. It was thousands of cases.
I might
Every
do
programmer
extreme
in
of
the
an
audience
angle.
right
We'll
now
do
just
this.
like lost their mind here.
Negative 30,
It
that's
didn't
perfect.
matter. It didn't matter at all. The game is still fun. You don't have to be a good programmer. You don't have to be any kind of good programmer. You can start off not knowing what you're doing and start working on stuff. Let's go to a really good example of this. How many of you guys have played Five Nights at Freddy's?
Freddy Fazbear.
Five Nights at Freddy's, made by Scott Cawthon, right? We're going to go pull up Scott Cawthon on Wikipedia.
There's actually a really good video on YouTube about Scott Cawthon, as fucked as he
I
is.
want you to look at all these games.
A really good video about him on all of his games prior to
These are all the games that Scott Cawthon made before.
Five Nights at Freddy's. I think it might have been a Solar Saints video, actually. But it was really good. It was fun.
That he released Five Nights at Freddy's, he made a game called Fart Hotel. That's right. A phone app called Fart Hotel, where you had to choose who farted. That was
You fart now.
Who farted. Like, that was a game, right? Like, you can make these things. And you could sit down and try to make stuff and fail at it and get a little bit better and get a little bit better and get a little.
We'll keep it
make
at
your
0.
Fart Hotel. Go make Fart Hotel, and then eventually make your Five Nights at Freddy's. Because eventually, if you keep making these things,
FNAF and Freddy's.
Someone's going to see the stuff that you're making. You're going to get better at making those things, and eventually, you won't be making Fart Hotel anymore. You'll be making something else. And that's the whole idea. The idea is to make things and grind that XP and learn how to do this stuff because nobody knows how to do it at first. That's okay. You don't fight the final boss at level 1. You start at the very beginning and you gain levels, you get XP, and you get better at this stuff. So one of the things that I put together 3 times a year is we actually have a game jam that we do. If you've never heard of a game jam, if you don't know what that is, go and look this up. There are hundreds and hundreds of different game
Is
jams.
that mesh
go on
fucked
for
up?
the
Wait, why the
entire
hell does it look like
year.
this?
They're constant. You go look at
What the
itch.io.
fuck?
It's a great website to find this kind of stuff. And
Why
a
does it
game
do
jam
that?
Is a place where basically you get a theme, and the theme would be like,
Oh, that's
you must
fucked. What the hell
incorporate
happened?
giraffes, or whatever it's going to
Goddamn.
be, right? And you have to make a game
Uh,
centered around that theme in a limited amount of time, and you won't know what you're doing.
Can I put this on like
and you'll
cheap
probably
quads?
fail the first time. And
Why
that's
does it look
okay,
like that? What the fuck?
because in the action of failing that first time, you're going
Hopefully this doesn't lag the shit out of my computer.
A massive amount of stuff.
Oh, it
about
will though,
yourself,
but you know.
about team members that you bring along with you, about the skills that you need going forward, about maybe some stuff that you
That didn't
didn't
work.
know about
Undo.
originally, and you'll incorporate all of that into your design. And like, I know this is easy coming from someone that's, I've been in the gaming industry 18 years. It's easy coming from me saying that, but I followed the same advice. So if you go over to
You know what? I'm just gonna
Steam.
say we're gonna make this a
It's a
little
game that I work on now, and I work on it on stream every day.
red.
And
And
we're
we're
seeing
just gonna say it's a
97%
design.
Positive reviews out of 1,050.
It's not a bug, it's a feature.
And we also have 100,000 wish lists because the game's in early access.
Bam.
We're waiting for it to come out, right? But this isn't the first.
And
game
it
that
froze my
we've
Unity. Hell yeah. There we go.
Our first one was Champions of Breakfast,
Love
which
breakfast.
is It's not great, right? It's a silly little arcade game. It's got sick music. Listen to these sick jams, dude. It's good music. But if you look at this, it's just spinning objects. And it freezes. Thank you, Steam. Well done. But it's just spinning objects. That's all it is. They don't animate. They just rotate. Really easy to build. How long do you think it took us to make this? This is with me having never worked in Game Maker Studio before, in a programming language I'd never heard of, never used before in my life, an artist who had never made pixel art before, had never made anything for a game in their lives, never made pixel art, never made anything for a game, and then a musician
well, anyway.
who had never made
So that's
sound effects
some of the
for a
bugs
game,
down. I
for
still haven't
example,
found that
for
fucking
maybe
orange
something
staircase,
called,
wherever it may
like,
be.
indie
I gotta
sound
put
or
something
something
here,
like that.
first of
How
all.
long do you think this took us? Anybody in chat, how long do you think it took us to make this game, our first game? To launch it from, I want to make a video game, I want to make Asteroids with a Toaster, to my game is on Steam. How long do you think it took? It took 24 days. 24 days. From, I want to make a game to my game is up on Steam. It was 24 days. And it's not the best game in the world. It's not. And that's okay. Because here's what we learned by making this. We learned how to make all of these Steam icons and everything that goes up on this page. By the way, Steam doesn't auto-scale these. You have to build these yourself. You have to make every one of these little icons yourself. We learned how to make Steam achievements. There's 164. My God. We learned how to make Steam point shop items. We learned how to make Steam trading cards, and then we found out as developers, when someone buys a Steam trading card from another person, you get a little cut of the money as a Steam dev. I didn't know that. That's really cool. So that means that you want to make really cool Steam trading cards so that people really want to trade them around because you're making a little bit of money off of that. That's really helpful for an indie studio. I learned that when you add controller support to your game, it's really important for people that have physical disabilities. I didn't know that before I made an indie game. I was in, AAA. I had no idea that that was the case. So we started adding, controller support to every game that we work on now. The accessibility is built right in because they can take that controller, remap it to whatever devices they use, and they can play your game. I had no clue. This game taught me all of this. It taught me everything that I needed to know to go and make something better. And that's what you need to make. You got to go make your Champions of Breakfast. You got to go make your Fart Hotel. Whatever it's going to be. Make that game and then make a better one. Because you can do that. Nothing is stopping you from doing that. Nothing at all. Now, the next thing of this, and this is the real big one. After hearing all of that, you're like, man, I want to go make games. Like some of you guys are like, oh man, I got to go do this, right? Don't quit your day job. Don't do it. Do this on the side. Do it as a side project. Go to work every day. Have that financial backing that keeps you afloat. Go home, and instead of sitting on the couch and watching Netflix, take 2 to 4 hours a day, whatever it's going to be, any amount of time that you can devote to this, and work on your game. You won't know what to do at first. It's going to be frustrating at first. It's going to drive you nuts at first. But if you get over that and you learn some stuff and you learn like, oh man, I'm actually making something, the moment that you make a character walk on screen, you've already won. That's all you need to do. Yeah, oops, already quit my day job. Don't do it, dude. Don't quit your day job. Keep your day job. It's going to help you to be financially stable while you're doing this, so you're not going to stress out. You're not going to worry about, oh my God, I have to do this kind of thing. Like, just keep your job. Do this kind of thing. And eventually, one day, if you do it long enough, there's a chance that you'll be able to do it full time. Not everyone gets to, but you have the chance. And the more that you do this, the more that you plan for it, the more that you get better at this, the more small games that you release, the more game jams that you're a part of, the higher that chance gets. That's the only way. Plan on your future by doing this. Invest in yourself by learning these skills.
I'm still like hyper fixated on that damn staircase.
So there,
where? It's got to be here somewhere.
Like, how do you? I put all these different sections in here. It's not just about what skills you need. Like,
Yeah,
what
give
kind
me
of
that.
game should you make? How do you pick
Put that shit here.
what kind of game you want to make? Like, I want to make an MMO. Don't.
Sound like German.
Don't make an MMO as your first game. Make a little arcade game. Make a platformer. Make something small. Something you can build and
Yeah, we gotta pad this out a little bit because this area is kind of sparse.
You can do that. There's nothing stopping you from doing that other than fear of not doing it well enough. Someone on the internet making fun of you. I'm going to be honest with you. No matter what you make, someone on the internet's going to make fun of you. But it's yours, and they didn't make it. So get on, right? Like, it's super good that way. It's actually really fantastic that you can say, I made this thing. So outside of that, let's go to how do you build a community? Tons and tons of social media stuff now. You've got Discord, Twitter, Instagram, Steam, GameJolt, itch.io, Twitch, YouTube, Reddit, like all these, and Gilded now, You've got all these different places that you can build community. Every time I go live on Twitch, I announce it on Twitter and Discord. Every time I make something in Heartbound and we release a new patch, it goes on every one of our social media sites. Every single thing I do ties into every single other thing that I do because you're an indie dev. No one is shouting from the top of the mountain for you. You're not AAA. You don't have piles of money. You don't have infinite cash to throw into games. The average amount of money used on a game for its release, like for the actual marketing for it, is a third of the cost of the actual game itself. You don't have that. So it's got to be you. Stand at the top of the mountain and scream about your game. Scream on every social media platform. Tell every single person about it. Go into your comments on, social media and actually respond to people. Tell everyone, what did you feel about the game? What did you think about the game? Get that feedback and don't get weird about it. Don't get mad about it. Accept it and then change yourself as a developer to get better. There's tons of times where people have come to me and they're like, your game sucks, right? I'm like, well, why does it suck? And then they tell me and I'm like, you're right. My game does suck. I'm going to go fix that. And then I do, and then that person has a better experience. I grow as a developer. Everybody wins, right? Now, that isn't to say that every amount of feedback is good, because sometimes it's pretty terrible. Like, I'll give you an example. I had a person come to me, and they go, your game has no story in it. And I'm like, what do you mean? What do you mean my game has no story in it, right? But the whole game is story. It's a narrative RPG, right? You're fighting monsters and talking. That's 99% of the whole thing. And they go, and I talk to them like 20 minutes. It's like 20 minutes back and forth with this person. And then they finally go, well, I don't like reading, so I skipped it. Don't like reading, so I skipped it. Damn it. So not all feedback is good. Sometimes it's, sometimes it's like that. But you should always listen. I think that's the biggest thing. It's not all feedback is good, but all feedback matters. You could get that from someone to go, wow, that's an interesting take. Thank you. But at least you heard them out, because it could have been something important. There were other times where people gave me feedback and they're like, this area of the game feels terrible. The developer is clearly just, pandering for time so that I can't refund the game. Really spicy take, right? In reality, it was a maze that had like shadow all over it, and you had to like find your way through the maze. And objectively, it sucked. It wasn't fun. So I got rid of it. Bad reviews disappeared. Everybody was happy. I learned something about player experience and valuing the time of the players a little bit more and not putting those types of mazes into the game because they just aren't fun. It's just filler. What's the point, right? So learn something from your players, always, 100%. Some people only understand environmental storytelling or cutscene. It's true. The funny thing is all of it is cutscenes. It's just dialogue, because we're an indie. I can't afford like 10,000 lines of voiceover. We've already got it translated into 6 languages. Like it's out there in a bunch of them, but like, dude, voiceover that's something else. That's really expensive. So anyway, tools. People fight about this all the time. What's the best engine? What's the best engine? I'm only going to use Game Maker Studio. I'm only going to use Unity. Whatever engine you want to use is the best engine, based on the type of game you're making. Different engines have different skills and abilities, that make them better suited for different types of games. Let's take a look at Risk of Rain. How many of you guys have played Risk of Rain or Risk of Rain 2?
That's how I got my start in Unity, was modding Risk of Rain.
Risk of Rain is an awesome game. It was made in Game Maker Studio and MS Paint. That's not a joke.
Oh, it was great too, anyway.
I used MS Paint to make this game. It's phenomenal, frankly. It's a fantastic game. And he used MS Paint. Your tools don't matter. Whatever works for you is what matters. Whatever works for you, whatever works for your workflow. It doesn't matter if it costs a lot of money. It doesn't matter if it's free. None of that matters. The only thing that matters is that it gets out of the way and allows you to make the kind of game you're trying to make. So Game Maker Studio is really, really good at making 2D games. It's not very good at 3D. Godot is really good at 2D and 3D games. Unity is really good at 3D stuff, but it's not as good for 2D games. And then there's financial stuff on top of it. Unreal is great at 3D. But you can look at each one of these, and I've got a couple of lists in here of different games that they've made. So you've got, Godot is actually the new kid on the block, but it's fantastic. It's got a lot of community support. It's really nice, and it's free and open source. Then you've got Game Maker Studio. It's $100, but it's only a one-time payment. No royalties whatsoever. You've got Unity. Unity is really cool. It's really good, but it's got royalties after a certain amount. It's like a seat license that you have to do. Unreal Engine has royalties, but it's after $1 million. And if you made $1 million off your game, you're probably silent anyway, and you probably feel fine. So it's not going to matter much to you, especially if you're a small team, right? But you can see the different types of games that they've made, too. So like with Unity, you've got Hearthstone and Cuphead and Wizard of Legend. Those are sick games. Hollow Knight, too. Unreal, the only 2D game that I've seen that came out of Unreal is really surprising to me. It's Octopath Traveler. And I think it was probably for the lighting and particle effects, because that game looks sick. But it's all 2D. It's like 2.5D stuff for everything. You've also got things like Fortnite, Conan Exiles. With Game Maker Studio, you've got all the indie darlings, right? You've got things like Hyper Light Drifter, Risk of Rain, Nuclear Throne, Undertale. Awesome games came out of Game Maker Studio. It's great at 2D pixel art games. And then you've got other free stuff. Ren'Py. Ren'Py is specifically made for visual novels. That's what it's for. It's made in Python. It's free. And that's how Doki Doki Literature Club came to be. It was made in Ren'Py. It's awesome stuff. So, like, don't worry about what the best engine is. Worry about the kind of game you want to make and then choose the right tool for the job. That's the whole point of this, is you want to choose the right tool for the job, choose the right engine for the kind of game you're trying to make, right? The next one, there's no best art program. No best art program at all. We use Sprite. We use Sprite because it's really good at making, pixel art animations. I really enjoy that. Super fun for that. Do you see future in VR games? I do. I see a future in that, but not until it's like nerve gear where it's like hooked up to your brain. And for me, it's kind of tough because VR games, I can't play them. I get motion sick really bad. Like the moment I put the headset on, I'm vomiting all over the room. It's great. It's not what you want, right? But I do see a future of VR games. But I think what we have right now, the things like the Oculus and stuff like that, all the devices that we're wearing, it feels like Laserdisc to me. It feels like that middle ground before we have true full dive immersion. You know what I mean? You've got that kind of interim technology where they're playing around with it, and then eventually they're going to be like, whatever, we're just going to hook it up to your brain. I'm waiting for that. That's what
That's fun.
I just want to, like, load into video games and be done for the day. In any case, sounds like a game I could get into. Hell yeah, dude. Yeah, so Sprite's great for 2D stuff. And it's $20, or, and this is the cool thing, you can compile it from their GitHub for free, and they let you do that. So these guys...
Oh, shit. I actually didn't know
give
that.
it away if you want to go through and compile it from their GitHub. That's fantastic. That's really cool. GIMP, free. It's free Photoshop. It's not as good as Photoshop in some ways, like for some things, but it's fantastic. If you really want to use, like, photo manipulation software, use GIMP. There's nothing wrong with that. Blender used to be, like, sad. It used to, like, Maya used to just dominate over Blender all the time, and Blender wins now. Blender is amazing for 3D modeling now. It's used for everything. It plugs into everything. It's gotten so powerful over the years. And because of that, it's fantastic for making 3D games. Use it. It's free. It's totally free. There's no best music program. Our musician's name is Stein von Wakern. All this music you hear is from Stein. All of it. And like I said, we've got about 100 songs in the OST. All this is from Heartbound. All of it's from Stein. Stein is a wizard. Absolute wizard. Fami Studio is really good for making NES games. That's a free tool that you can use, or like NES-style chiptunes. If you love that old, like, NES-style music, like the old chiptune stuff, use Fami Studio. It's fantastic for that. Anvil's the same, but for MIDI. And then the big one, and this is the expensive one because it's, it's $100, is FL Studio. All of our music is made in FL Studio. Doesn't mean you need to use this. Go and make something in Fami Studio. It's just as good, and it's free, and you can use it for all kinds of stuff. In fact, let's take a look at a game real quick. I'm going to show you something really small that I love. How many of you guys have ever played Downwell? Check this game out, dude. Listen to this music. Love this game. It's hard. Downwell is amazing. The music is fantastic. The effects are really clean and really good and readable. And it's all using 3 colors, black, white, and 1 accent color, and that's it. This is a game that is attainable for any of you. You can make this. There's nothing stopping you from making this. It's an easy and simple idea, executed well, and really clean with simple graphics, simple audio. All of this stuff is really easy to make. You just have to do it. And it's, at first you're not going to know what you're doing, but you can do this. And you can learn while you're doing this. And then eventually you can have a game like this. It's pretty sick. It's a fun game. It's really cool. Downwell's awesome. Good. It's up on Steam. Play this game. Do it. It's $3. It's $3. But yeah, do that. Seriously. So you can use these types of tools to make that stuff. Then you're like, okay, well, I don't have $100 for FL Studio, and I want to use FL Studio. How to raise money? There's a lot of different ways to do it. There's a massive amount. Just like I said before, don't quit your day job. Keep that day job. Use it to fund your gaming development habit, right? Because at first it is. It's going to be a hobby. It's going to be a hobby at first. You're going to learn this stuff, and you're going to get better at doing this. And eventually you'll make something that might stand on its own and make money back. But make it for the love of the game at first. Then one day it might be your job. That's how all hobbies go. All hobbies are you doing something really cool, and then you're like, wait a minute, I'm really good at making this. Maybe I'll make this my job now. And you can do that with game dev. So raising money at first is really going to be about keeping that day job. After that, you can raise funds from a bunch of different places outside, and the big one is Twitch. If I didn't have Twitch, we wouldn't be a studio. And it's not just because of the income from Twitch. It's actually because of the amount of voice that Twitch gives you as a game developer. When I'm streaming on Twitch, we sell 400% more copies of Heartbound.
Eesh.
Every hour on the hour. 400% more copies than if I wasn't streaming. And that is tried and true every day for the last 5 years. If I miss a day of streaming, that number goes down. And this is a really good example of you are an indie. Stand on the top of the mountain and shout about your game. Twitch will let you do that. It is fantastic for that. It is very, very good for getting the word out about what you're doing. And we're evidence of that. And I'm not special for doing what we've done. I'm not, God's gift to gaming or game development or anything like that. I just tried something and it worked. And I know other people can do it too. Because there was no special time period that allowed us to do this. There was no special window that we had to work our way through. Now is the time to keep doing this stuff or to start doing this stuff because it's going to carry. It's going to snowball. And unless you start now, you're never going to start. So do it. Do it. Stop talking about doing it. Do it. Nothing's stopping you. And we have a category now, software and game development. You can go to this category and find other game developers. And that doesn't just mean programmers. That means voice actors. That means writers. That means pixel artists. That means people making pen and paper games. That means people making card games. That means every kind of game you can think of. That's what software and game development is for. And we campaigned to have this made for about 8 months, and Twitch finally did it. So get in here and be part of this category. If you want to make games, this is the place to be. And don't get discouraged at first. Don't just get discouraged if you've only got 2 viewers and your mom and your dog, because that's how I started too.
Hi, Mom.
That's how every single person in here.
Hi, cats.
And it's taken me 5 years of doing this to get to where I am today. And there's nothing stopping you from doing the same. If you really want to do it,
Oh, yeah.
do it. Make games. Make cool stuff.
Do it.
Other people will
Just
find
do
out
it.
as long as you're telling people about it. Now, outside of that, and this is a cautionary tale, you don't need a publisher. So many people get stuck in this and go, well, I can't make games. Someone's got to publish me. No. You used to need a publisher because you had to release on a console. Back in the day, when you wanted to release on Super Nintendo, you had to pay Mr. Nintendo 30% of your revenue because they had to go and make the physical cartridges. Why? You don't need that anymore. No one needs that. You can distribute it yourself. You can put it up on Steam. You can put it up on itch.io, on GameJolt, on Humble Bundle, every one of these different places, and you can do it without paying anyone. So do it. You don't need a publisher. And many, many indie studios that I know went, oh man, I went with a publisher because we thought it was the best idea, and they took 70% of our income. The biggest question you have to ask, and this is the big one in here, will the help of the publisher lead to profits above and beyond the revenue cut that they take? If you don't know the answer, or if the answer is no, then you don't need a publisher. And that's it. Don't fall for the trap. They're vampires. Also, I love What We Do in the Shadows. Watch that show. It's amazing. Good stuff. Next one is Kickstarter. So Kickstarter isn't, this is going to seem weird, Kickstarter isn't for making money. That's not what it's for. Kickstarter is for raising awareness about what you're making. It's not for making money at all. So when I put Heartbound up on Kickstarter, we did a bunch of analytics to find out, like, oh man, how much money could we make within a certain time period? Like average, right? Like how much do you think we're going to make within a certain amount of time? And it came out to about $5,000. Heartbound is a game that's been in development now for 5 years. We have it out in early access. People buy it and all that kind of stuff. But $5,000 is not going to make a game with a bunch of people working it full time for 5 years. That's not going to happen. So why did we put it up for that much? Because we knew from the analytics that it was a likely amount to reach that within 24 hours. Why do you want to reach that in 24 hours? Because of the news. You want to be that sensationalist indie. You got your game funded in 24 hours. Everyone wants to pick that up. IGN immediately picked this up and wrote a story on it. That's what you use Kickstarter for. You use it to raise awareness for what you're doing. You use it as a platform for media to pick you up and talk about you. That helps you amplify everything that you're doing to tell the rest of the internet what it is that you're making. Use Kickstarter for that. Great. It's fantastic. And you get to give out cool rewards to the people that back you, too. It's a really awesome thing to do. Builds community, builds awareness of what you're making, and also makes a little bit of money on the side. But it's not, primarily not, for making money. That's not what it's for. It's for raising awareness. Merchandise. Make stuff. Do it. We have a bunch of merchandise. Look, it's merch. Wow. Look, it's my face all over a cup. Horrifying. Nobody wants that. They still buy it anyway. But yeah, make merch. Merch is cool. We actually use a shipping service called Pirate Ship, which is cool. I like them because they're very on brand. But we have a bunch of different like manufacturers and stuff that I put up on this, and it's good to release these things. The margins on them, though, are very small, generally. You don't make a huge amount of money off of merch, but you do get to see people really happy about what they're buying, right? When somebody throws donations at you, you can't really give them anything back. When they're buying something, they may feel really cool about it. They may actually get into it and be like, oh man, I've got this cool sticker. I'm going to go put it on my computer and people are going to see it and I'm going to talk about it. Merchandise is cool because it lets your fans show off. That's more than anything else. And it feels good, man. So, like, make it. Even if it's silly, just little stickers. Just make them. Make them. Get them out there. It's not super expensive to do. It's really cheap. So, outside of that, coffee. Good way to make money. Not Patreon. Patreon takes 8%. Patreon, if you're a founder, takes 5%. Coffee takes $4.50 a month flat. It's the exact same service. There are other services like this that exist out there on the internet. Don't use Patreon. Use Coffee. Cheaper. And I'm not saying none of these are sponsored, by the way. Not a single one of them. Not a single one of these is sponsored. This is all the best way to run this as an indie trying to live off of ramen. That's it. That's what it is. You know, you want to retain as much money as you possibly can when you're indie, and this is a good way to do it. So outside of that, where should you launch your game? You're like, okay, I've got it. I've got a demo. Everything is out there. People know about what I'm doing. Where do I send my stuff? Steam. Steam is the big one. Why is Steam the big one? Let's bring out the good old MS Paint. MS Paint, the ultimate. Steam takes 30%. And you're like, wait a minute, you said publisher's bad. 30% bad. 30% is bad. Except for with Steam. Steam lets you do something that's a magic trick. They let you sell Steam keys. How much money does Steam take when you sell a Steam key? 0%. If you take a Steam key, which you get for free, you can order as many of them as you want as a developer on Steam. If you take that Steam key and you sell it on another platform, Steam takes nothing. 0%. They take absolutely nothing. That is phenomenal. So what you do is you take your Steam keys and you put them on Humble Bundle, and you put them on GameJolt, and you put them on itch.io, and you sell your game on all these different platforms, and some of those sales have no overhead whatsoever. And then on top of it, you have one center of distribution, which is Steam, which means every time someone buys the game, all the updates come from Steam. You don't have to manage all these different files in different locations. It's all just on Steam. It's easy for you. Super simple stuff. And the Steam keys make it free. Super good way to do it. So then outside of that, you're like, okay, well, that's neat. Well, no one can find my game on Steam. Steam has a way to fix this called visibility rounds. When you release your game, you get 5 of these. 5 VRs, right? 5 visibility rounds that get released. And when you use a VR, you get 500,000 impressions on front page of Steam.
Eesh.
Is that legal by Steam rules? That's what Steam does. That's part of their service. That's 100% what Steam wants you to do. They want you to sell Steam keys on other platforms. I believe in their agreement, the only thing that they ask for you to do is it cannot be cheaper on other platforms than it is on Steam. That's it. That's the only part of the agreement. Do this. This is absolutely allowed. But yeah, the Steam visibility rounds let you be on front page of Steam for 500,000 impressions. That is amazing. And you get to do that 5 times. And when you leave early access, they give you one that gives you like 1 million impressions on front page, and it doesn't even count as one of the VRs. So when people talk about like, oh, well, Steam doesn't do anything for visibility, use their tools. They have them there. Every time we enter a Steam sale, we sell basically 90% of our copies for the year during Steam sales. And you can go and join those or leave those at will. Like, you get to choose if you want to be a part of that or not. They don't do that to you. They don't set the rates for you. You do it as the developer. Now, people go like, oh, well, that's cool. That's all fine. But, like, you know, what about people that steal from us, right? Like, what about pirates? And, you know, I'm Pirate Software, so I should know a thing or two about piracy, right? Just a little bit about piracy with the name, right? So let's talk about piracy for a moment. Like, oh, you know,
Actually,
piracy,
I'll do
people
all
will
that.
steal my game.
I'm
Like,
going to prefab
Steam doesn't really
this
have any protections in place for
so
it.
that when
You're
I
right.
edit it,
But what does
I
piracy really
can
an issue of? My chat knows.
edit them all at once.
You guys know what piracy really is
Genius.
an issue of? Because it's not people being jerks. It's an issue of cost or distribution. If people can't buy your game because it's too expensive, they're going to pirate it. If people can't get your game because they can't obtain it, they're going to pirate it. Access and cost, the whole thing. So a really good example of this is Brazil. Our game, Heartbound, took off in Brazil before it took off anywhere else in the entire world. The average household income in Brazil is 880 to 1100 BRL. It's about 180 US dollars.
Maybe, why are you
If
screaming?
you're telling them to buy
What's
a
up?
$60 game, you're saying, give me a third of your household's monthly income with 2 working parents. Of course they're going to pirate your game. So what do we do to fix that? Let's go pull this up. First off, we localize the game into Brazilian Portuguese. Then, using Steam, we localize the price. You can see here the Brazilian real, it's only 20 BRL, which is about $4 US, 58% off in Brazil. How much money do you think we make off of Brazil? Knowing that the economic
Maybe.
constraints
What's
there,
up?
the fact that it's not a huge amount of income, the fact that we've released the game there for 60% off. How much do you think it is? 20 to 25% of our studio's monthly income comes from Brazil. 20 to 25% of our studio's entire monthly income comes from Brazil. And that's a country that's generally overlooked because of piracy. Why would you overlook it? Don't. Use Steam. Use Steam and localize your prices and localize your games. If you do this, those communities will
Maybe.
support you. And you're supporting them by giving them a game that they can actually buy that makes sense for them to buy. So they don't have to go to a third-party site and get malware. That's what this is all about. That's the whole point. You will make money. You don't have to worry about it. Put your game up there and make the price fair. And you're giving a better experience to people that otherwise wouldn't be able to have it. And you'll make money out of it.
Oh, I didn't finish doing the
you guys are
roofs.
talking about Argentina, right? Argentina is
I think I did these ones.
$1.13, right? Argentina, $1.13. You're like, oh, well, people just VPN and buy it there. I think we've sold like 2 copies in Argentina, which is wild. Does our team manually set the localized prices? For some of them, yeah. For the localizations that we do, which is Brazilian, Portuguese, Russian, French, Spanish, and Japanese, those ones we manually set them because I want to make sure that they're correct. And I talk to people that are in those areas and I pay attention to the economics for that stuff. And when you set it, Steam automatically starts doing the converted price automatically from there. So I don't have to worry about fluctuating prices because Steam automatically handles that for you. Once you set this value, you're done, basically. They handle everything for you afterwards, which is great. It's really fantastic. And they can do all this automatically for you as well if you don't want to touch any of it. They do it for you if you don't want to touch it. Can you set it for free to a single country? I don't know. We're trying to find that out right now, actually. We're trying to find that out. We'll figure it out. I'm hoping to find out. I've got some feelers out to Steam to see if we can do that. But yeah, so with Argentina, people are like, oh man, prices there. People are going to VPN over it. Steam will let you do that. If you try to VPN over, it's actually based on where your payment processor is. So you can't just VPN around it, basically. And if you do switch your payment processor around a whole bunch, Steam will eventually ban your account, and then you lose all your Steam games. So people don't want to do that. They don't do it. And I know they don't do it because we've sold about 26,000 copies of Heartbound. It has about 100,000 wish lists. And I think we sold 2 copies in Argentina ever, which is, to me, is pretty funny. You know, like the cheapest price on there, we've only ever sold 2 copies. So not really an issue. But yeah, with all that in mind, man, you have everything you need to make games now. And it's all on the website, develop.games. And there's no ads on here. The only thing that there is me at the bottom, waving at you. I'm there. Just many hundreds of thousands of layers of me going back into the infinite behind my website. But yeah, that's it. That's what it is. When I put ads, because making games and seeing ads for that stuff up here just feels gross to me. Making games is hard enough. I don't want to put a bunch of stupid ads on here. I don't want to monetize this in a way that is gross. I don't want to put a paywall in front of it. I don't want to do any of that stuff. It's gross, dude. It's gross, you know? What about game revenue taxation? What about game revenue taxation? Does Steam take care of all of that? Steam handles, so what I end up getting is a royalty check, right? So a royalty check from the sales of the game. Steam handles other stuff like VAT and all that other things. Like, I don't have to deal with any of that. I just have to pay the federal government and my state if we had state income tax, which we don't. Washington. Hey, Indy state. It's a good day. Good state to be. But yeah, Steam takes care of all the other stuff. I just have to pay federal taxes on income tax. That's it. That's all I have to do, which is nice. And then my tax man does it, so I don't have to look at it because it's scary. Is that Viking Blonde? Don't let Thor fool you. Making games is dead easy. Just push the make game button in Game Maker. Yeah, dude, just press make game, and you're done, and it's over. You don't have to do anything else. No international considerations. No. When you're launching on Steam, it launches internationally already. So, like, we sell copies of Heartbound in Japan, for instance, and Steam handles all of that stuff for it,
Yes.
which
No,
is
that's not good.
really nice for you. You know, as an indie dev, nothing could be more powerful than that. I think effectively,
How
Steam
am I
is
gonna do
probably
this
the
corner?
best publisher that exists right now, and it makes it really easy
Actually,
to
I
get
know
into.
exactly how I can do that.
And I think the buy-in is like $100 in total. And if you put your game out on Game Jolt, for instance, like Game Jolt is really good for launching like demos. It's really fantastic for that.
Here we
Look how
go.
nice the page looks. You make a sick-looking page on here. This is the one for me. And you can make this stuff look really cool. And you can put your demo up here, and people can go and support you. And when they do support you, if you're streaming on Twitch and you've got stuff up on Game Jolt and you do all this kind of thing, you can take that money and then go put your game up on Steam, and then the ball starts rolling. Because then you have a base camp. You have a place to put builds. You have a place to interact with your community. You have a place to have a sold game. And that's something that's phenomenal. It's something that you just can't really get anywhere else to the same degree. And you guys are talking about Epic storage tools. Do they compare to all the stuff Steam does? Epic loses right out the outset, even just with one feature, and that's the Steam key. The moment that you say Steam key, Epic Games loses in comparison, unfortunately. And it's just because the Steam key can be sold anywhere for free. As an indie, nothing beats that.
And we'll get rid of the renderer,
Oh God, you found
and
the channel.
boom,
What's
we
up?
got a free mesh collider. Hi.
Yeah, it's Pirate Software / Pirate Software. It's me. Hello. But yeah, so like I think as we wrap this up, we've got about 4 minutes left. I think the one thing that I want to impose on every single one of you is don't wait to make games. You're not too old to make them. You're not too young to make them. I waited most of my life in AAA, like 7 years in AAA,
Oops.
before I realized that I could just go home and make indie games, and that nothing was stopping me. You have access to all of human knowledge on the internet, and you can do this. You can absolutely do this. And we have a really pretty looking game
That's
right
pretty good.
now. If we go
I
and
know
look
what,
at
to find
Heartbeat
out.
right now, you
Oh,
can
yeah.
see this. What we've
I
made
move it
now
up
is
just a
just great. We've
bit.
got
Like
this
a
cool trailer
skosh.
and all this cool stuff and all these nice cutscenes
Nothing
and
too
everything that we
much.
have on here. And it looks fantastic. But it didn't always look that way. Pull
That's
this up
fine.
real fast. Whoop,
Yeah, that's good.
where is it?
A bit too
I'm
much
going to show
here.
you something. The screen's going to go black for a second.
I actually think I'm gonna raise this roof. Raise the roof, maybe. Hell yeah.
This, what you're about to see, is
Awesome.
horrifying. This is what Heartbound
Baby, you're walking all
with
over
all
me.
these animations and all these different cutscenes and all this different stuff that we have here, right? This is what it looked like originally. Let me pull this up. This was the first build of Heartbound. Look at him. He is a potato. Look at him. My God.
Oh, hello, Southpaw. You're back.
Every game looks like this in the beginning.
I missed you.
Every game looks like this in the beginning. I have 2D pixel art ray trace lighting in my game now. This is what it started as. You're going to make a game that looks like this at first, and it's okay. Don't be down on yourself. Just make it better each day. Just make it better each day. That's it. Go make Potato Simulator, dude. Make
Somehow,
it.
Southpaw's returned.
I believe in you. You can do
And
it.
I'm so glad he did.
The
Hello.
RTX off. Exactly, dude. From all your games, what would be your monthly earnings? From all my games, monthly earnings? I don't actually know. I basically take all of my money that I make and I put it back into the studio. Everything. I try to pay out to our artists and musician as much as I possibly can. I don't make a huge amount of money. I used to make money. I used to work for the federal government, right? Like I was a hacker for the Department of Energy. I was a big nerd. But like if I wanted to keep making huge amounts of money, I would have kept that job. I want to enjoy myself. I want to make games. I want to make things that other people can enjoy and do this type of thing. So that's what I do. As long as I make enough money to pay my bills, I don't care about anything else. That's just kind of how I live, if that makes sense. It's kind of a weird one, but yeah. Did you hack any nukes? No. And if I did, I wouldn't be able to tell you. But yeah, that's it, dude. That's the whole deal. Well, it's been fun. Enjoy Twitch.
That's a bit too big. I think it might be 1.75?
Being here.
1.5?
Goodbye,
Five.
everyone. On the
1.5
chat.
is good.
I think we actually have 1 minute left. I'm just going to do this.
Yeah,
wait.
that looks great.
Nope, my ferrets are all asleep. Unfortunate. I was going to show you the ferrets.
The height's a bit
I
bigger.
have a big cage over here.
2.25?
Quite a lot of
2.5.
ferrets, but they're all sleeping inside of that hammock. You can see it's like... Poor ferrets, all sleeping.
That looks okay. I'm getting
Anyway,
closer.
Bye, everyone.
I think
Bye.
3. Oh, it is 3.
Amazing.
3's perfect. Is it perfect? No. Hit the curve. 3.2 is getting closer. 3.5 or 3.25. There we go. I hope work is easy for you today, friend.
In this video, we are going to look at tips to increasing productivity for scripting in Unity. Using namespaces in
I don't feel like watching official Unity documentation right now. I thought maybe it'll be useful, but I'm like, no, this is too much.
Here are 10 awesome Unity tips that will help save you time and headaches. Ready? Let's go.
Boom.
Here are 10 awesome Unity tips that will help save you time and headaches. Ready? Let's go. Let's say we have a script that makes our player
Just
flash when
Unity.
they take damage.
Got him.
So to get a reference to it, we might say get component and get a reference
That's
to
not
our
too
damage
big, is it?
flasher.
That's a little too big.
And if we were damaged, then we'll call the flash function. Now, obviously, this will work fine so long as we remember to add the damage flasher
Why is that
script to our
fucking...
player. But if we don't, we're going to get a lot of null reference exception errors. But maybe you're using this script for a lot of game objects in your game, and so you want this to be optional. What we
Oh,
do instead
65 is much
is
better.
try get component.
So this
and
would be
use the out keyword to assign the component to
32.5?
our
Yeah, that would be
variable
half.
if
Awesome.
it's found.
Quick math.
And this will actually return a bool value, so we could do something
Though.
like if it finds it, then
There's
yes,
a bit
we
of
can
fuckery.
flash,
Oh, well, no,
else
that's
we
right.
can't.
That's good enough. Oh, what the fuck's
And
going
then
on
add
here,
this
though?
little check down here.
Oh, mesh colliders are not agreeing with me today.
Now we don't.
Are these
care about
convex? Oh, these aren't even convex. These are concave. I'm fucked.
Sometimes
Okay.
when you're coding,
Oh, no, they are
it's really
convex.
useful to be able to
I'm
comment
dumb as
out
shit.
a whole bunch of code all at once. So to make
Oh, now they're
multiple
not.
line
Now-
comments all at once, highlight the code you want to comment out, hold Control K, then Control C. And to undo that, press Control K, then Control U. And similarly, if you want to use a block comment for a bunch of code, then highlight the code and press Control Shift backslash. And it'll be the same keys to undo that. And let's do one more. If you want to actually go and see the code for a function, just click it and press F12. It'll take you to the correct script at the correct function, which can really speed up debugging sometimes. For any number of legit reasons, you may find that you need to change the hierarchy order in some of your characters, like adding new game objects or reparenting certain things.
Oh, shit.
But if these characters are already animated, then this is going to break everything since the paths do not automatically update. Now, the good news is it's pretty easy to fix and it only takes a couple of seconds. Highlight the broken path and then press F2, which will allow you to rename it to the new path, then type in the new path, and now your animations will work just fine again. Although, Unity, if you are listening, please make a built-in fix.
Okay, we're
for this.
getting...
That would be
Ooh,
really
that looks
great.
like shit. Okay. Yeah, we gotta
To
fix these
get rid
ones.
of a reference in the inspector, you don't need to click on the nipple and select.
So
command.
dumb
You can
for
literally just click it and hit. the
not
delete
fucking
button.
doing this before.
Done.
So
So you just finished a function
57.5.
and you want to test it out quickly to see if
Closer.
it works. Instead of coding in key presses or anything like that, there's a built-in attribute called context menu.
We'll say
So
60.
we'll put that above our function and give
This
it
one,
a name.
160.
Now let's
120.
play our game, and you can right-click
Nope,
the script,
140.
and now we can click on the
50.
new line that appears there to run our function.
50.
This annoying boilerplate code that shows up on every single new script you create, let's fix that and make it blank. Or make it whatever you want, because we're going to modify the Unity template. In Windows, you're going to go to your C drive, Program Files, Unity, Hub,
Okay,
Editor,
getting much better.
whatever version you want to change, and yes, this
it's a little
feature does
wonky, but
unfortunately only work on a per version basis.
it's good enough.
Editor, data, resources,
For jerry rig, no
templates,
fix.
and the one we want to change is 81, new behavior script. And I'll throw the link up for Mac users as well. But before you try to change it, it's very likely that you won't have the proper access to do
Looks
so.
pretty alright.
So
right?
right-click it and go
Yeah.
to Properties, and go to Security. And under Users, I'm going to edit my permissions and add the right access. Now if we open up 81, we can delete or add whatever we want, save the file, and now when we create a new script, it'll reflect the changes you made to that template file. If you add the system.diagnostics namespace to your script, this will give you access to the stopwatch class, which is a high precision timer. And because of how highly precise this timer is, it is the best tool that you can use for performance benchmarks. So let's set up a test performance function and start the timer. And then we're going to do the actual thing that we want to time, and then stop the stopwatch. And then we'll get a reference to the elapsed milliseconds and print that out at the end.
It's 30, right?
So let's
Negative
say
30?
we want to know how long it takes to perform a
Negative
simple
30.
find game object with tag call. And we'll just run this in the start function. And when we run, well, this takes 0 milliseconds because it's too fast to be picked up. But we can add what's called elapsed ticks, and 1 tick is equal to 100 nanoseconds, or 0.00000001 seconds. Put another way, 1 millisecond is equal to 10,000 ticks. So you can see that it did pick that up, it's just below a millisecond, right? Now, of course, if we did something a little more hefty, like run find game object with tag 50,000 times, now it'll show a value on the millisecond timer. Not too long ago, if I wanted to rename a script, what I would do is rename the script file, then open the script, rename the class, then double-click the errors and fix those. Don't do that. Instead, open the script, double-click the class name, and press Ctrl-R and Ctrl-R again, rename it, and press Enter. It's going to rename the class, all the references, and the script file name as well. And also, just in case you weren't aware, this is the same shortcut that you can use to rename all variables or function names as well. The reset function isn't something I see get used too often, but it's actually really handy and can save you some hassle, especially when you combine it with the require component attribute. And I'll give you an example.
I didn't mean to do that.
Let's say we want every single enemy in our game to share the same base functionality, like an aggro radius, for example. Now, for something like health, it makes sense to set it up this way, so that we can set each enemy's health manually and easily create prefabs of different enemies with different health values. But let's say we want our aggro radius to be the same for every single enemy in the game. So we can set up a variable for a circle collider, and let's make it required since every enemy will require it. So if we do it this way, when we create a new script that inherits from enemy base, when we drag it onto an enemy, it attaches a circle collider, but it's not a trigger, and it has the default radius of 0.5. So let's change that by adding a reset function. A reset function gets called when you click this button here, but it also gets called whenever you add a new component to a game object. So knowing that, let's get a reference to our circle collider and change it to trigger and change its radius. Now, when I add this script to any enemy, reset is going to get called and it'll automatically add a circle collider that is a trigger at our specified radius.
Also, I'm going to pause the
Another easy way
video.
to test certain things with is with
I will be right back. I got 1, run to the bathroom, and 2, refill my coffee. So I'll be right back. Am I recording? Fuck. No wonder my computer's lagging. There we go. BRB. I returned from the war, and I got not only coffee, but a breakfast burrito. Straight from the microwave. Tastes amazing. Haven't eaten it yet, so I don't know, but it probably tastes amazing. I actually have an idea for a video I want to put on. Let's go to old classics. My favorite well, they're all my favorite, but this is definitely up there for my favorite Jacob Jeller video. I think you can imagine which one it is. Boom. Actually, hold on. Redo that. There we go. Amazing. Put that shit on. Hell yeah. I forgot how weird the spatial audio in Mirror's Edge is, because I can only hear like the gunshots in my right ear go. What's in the burrito? That's a great question, my friend. No idea. Did not even look in the packaging before I put it in the microwave. I think it's just like sausage, egg, cheese. Let me bite into it, see, actually. Hold on. That was all bread. It was all wrap. Hold on, give me a second. Getting in there.
Marveling at the perfect detail on the characters. I wondered how they could possibly improve anything for the next.
Yeah, it's like egg and sausage and cheese.
I remember watching the trailer for
maybe bacon.
Next to my friend
But there's definitely sausage.
And when this guy came on screen, I turned to Jeremy and I yelled, "He looks more real than you."
It's like my autistic safe food, so I'm like, oh, this is good. I'm gonna eat this 24/7. This video is so fucking loud, though. I love you, Jacob, but gotta hear.
What, is tech going to stop?
That's the wrong window. No wonder it wasn't turning down.
Going to be less powerful than the PS4? There
There.
will be more pixels, more shaders, more tech to make wood look like wood and skin look like skin.
Oh.
Animations will be more.
Gotta get rid of the BRB text. There we go.
Yada, yada.
Almost forgot again.
Because of this, the games that have aged the best are usually highly stylized. This kind of cell shading still looks pretty dope, while any attempts to accurately represent humans are oof. But still, weirdly, my "I don't think a game can look any better" remarks were always targeted at that elusive photorealism goal. I've said it plenty of times, I've been wrong plenty of times. But almost 12 years ago, I said, "I don't think a game can look any better than this," about Mirror's Edge. And here's the thing,
Let's fucking
I
go.
still think I'm right.
Actually, I'm gonna pause because I have an interjection about this video. But so when you make a shader or a material with shader, I guess with a shader, it usually not requires, but like you can make slots for different types of textures that add a certain depth to what you're trying to convey. So if you're doing like a photorealistic texture, like say in Mirror's Edge, where it's kind of like that realistic / stylized look, like more realistic, you'd probably have normal maps, definitely. You would have perhaps ambient occlusion, definitely metallic and like specular maps, and then an albedo map, which would be like the diffuse, or it would be like the color the material is. And the way that Mirror's Edge did it is that they use these like RGB kind of textures, where you'll have all those aforementioned texture types, the normal map, the specular metallic map, and the diffuse map, but they'll all be sort of color coded to RGB values. And the shader that they probably use, which is probably something they made in-house, would be like, oh, this is red, this is going to be the diffuse, so it gives it a color. Oh, this is green, this is going to be the metallic, so it gives it a metallic value. And it allows them to pack the textures, which is what this is called, texture packing, into one image that they can do whatever they want with. They can compress it, they can, like size it however they want. But you don't have like a million textures dictating all of these things. You just have the one texture that's being read through a series of RGB values to say different things. And that's how the game, one, looks so fucking amazing, I think, on like old hardware, and two, was able to keep the file size so small while looking so good, is because it's all basically just one texture. It's amazing. It's honestly, like, I wish I had to know. I don't know how to code textures per se. I can do like shader graph, but like coding textures is beyond me. So props to fucking Dice for making this shit work. And that was also my autistic tangent. Don't worry, there will be more.
Mirror's
You're
Edge
sweet.
came out in 2008, the same year as some sincerely great games. Far Cry 2 came out that year, Battlefield Bad Company, GTA 4. But even as I'm showing these, you can see it, right? GTA 4, Mirror's Edge, Far Cry 2.
Also, the post processing was just amazing in that game.
Like, we're not even
Like the
in the
motion
same
blur, the
ballpark.
bloom,
So disregard
the way everything looks, sounds, and feels. It's
Assassin's
amazing.
Creed Odyssey, Mirror's Edge. Fuck it, Mirror's Edge Catalyst, the direct sequel, the game that came out 8 years
Technically, it's a
later,
prequel.
is about 10 times as much graphical
Doesn't make any
power to
sense,
run.
but it is.
I still don't think it looks as good as Mirror's Edge. Admittedly, it's not always pretty. Character models are demonstrably not stellar, and close-ups of our main character's hands can look a little blocky. And I'm not even going to talk about those Esurance commercial-ass story cutscenes. It's not that Mirror's Edge somehow time-traveled and stole a bunch of graphics tech from the future and brought it back to 2008. In a direct comparison, Cassandra looks better than Faith just about every time. But still, I know all that in my head, but when I'm playing Mirror's Edge, I still get that feeling. I don't think a game can look any better than this. What's going on here? Well, before we get into the meat of it, let's talk a little about genre. Because while this is first person and you do shoot, Mirror's Edge is absolutely not a first-person shooter. It's a racing game. Faith is inertia personified in this game. She's an unstoppable force that smashes open doors and vaults fences and leaps off walls. And because of this, you're often moving through
Crazy.
environments at an absolute breakneck pace. When it comes to the line between life and death, all that matters is your line through all the obstacles in your path. Impeccably textured benches and cleverly lit subway systems become background details in the rush to the finish. Faith doesn't have wheels, but she might as well be a race car. When you sprint over the
Meow.
city's roofs and below its streets, little details just melt away. But that's a wholly insufficient explanation because, well, I can come to a screeching halt and Mirror's Edge still takes my breath away. To get to the heart of this game's look, we need to talk about architecture. Do you have materials that you deeply care about? Do you like a silk pillowcase or a marble countertop? Do you prefer cedar over oak? Do you like ceramics more than plastic?
That's like the most autism like coded question. Do you have materials that you love? The touch of, or the look, or the
Mirror's
consistency?
Edge treats concrete like people treat their children, with adulation.
For me, it is smooth concrete, or like any smooth like
obsessive
rock.
attention.
I love like
Mirror's Edge knows that there's not just one
it's like cold
kind of
concrete. Ooh, love it.
the kind that fills a vast underground
Not like to
world,
live in,
but
obviously, that'd be
very
depressing, but like
poured
on like a hot day, like lying on like a
That's gonna
cold,
be very different from the
solid
maintenance
floor is like,
operates
ooh,
at that
love it.
same office. Mirror's Edge knows that concrete
I really am a cat, aren't I?
and that
Jesus.
painted
I
concrete
just realized how much of a
really
cat that sounded like.
It knows the vibe. And while concrete may be the game's favorite child, it's certainly not alone.
Yeah,
Milk gets a lavish
absolutely.
treatment, smashed into geometric corporate art or scattered across a barren mall. Honestly, these tarps right here are about as good as a game tarp has ever looked. And through its infatuation with materials, Mirror's Edge gives its world a staggering level of legitimacy. Here's a weird sentence.
Yeah, definitely art direction over realism any day.
Any of the levels of
Realism never ages well.
I don't know how. This game doesn't provide you with a thermometer, but I just look at this hallway.
Fuck yeah,
this
concrete,
sewer, this
concrete,
plaza,
concrete,
and I
baby.
know.
Love that
Just as
video.
important as those materials is the way they all interact with the light. And I'm gonna get
That's
a little
concrete,
technical, and
baby.
comments get ready to tear me apart because I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. But there are a couple ways of lighting a scene in a game. One of those kinds is dynamic. In dynamic lighting, the game is actually calculating on the fly how light should be falling across a landscape. That means a game can do a lot of cool things with the lights if it so chooses, but it also means that a huge chunk of memory is devoted to figuring out how those lights and shadows are supposed to fall. Games are made for systems with finite resources, and so spending all your lunch money on shadows means you can't afford those sweet polygons to use elsewhere. So instead of making everything dynamic, Mirror's Edge uses almost entirely static, pre-baked lights and shadows. The time of day will never change no matter how long I stand in this level. Those shadows will always be in the same place. And pre-baked really is an apt term for it. When we watch a cooking show, we're not seeing the rushed and potentially sloppy results of whatever they made live. We see the perfect cake they made before the show started, baked and frosted to perfection. Mirror's Edge knows what times of day its levels take place. It knows what angles you'll see them from and where you'll stand in proportion to them. Mirror's Edge decorates all its levels beforehand and pulls them out of the oven at the perfect moment. And god damn, can this game decorate with lights?
Lighting is really everything.
Mirror's Edge is really white, blindingly so. Where titles like Dishonored delight in showing their society's history through architecture, Mirror's Edge basks in its ahistoricity. Everything, as far as the eye can see, is the same aesthetic, same modern facades, and same soulless accent colors. Everything is the same white. And when the blinding sun and razor-sharp shadows are painted onto these obelisks, there's a level of artificial hyper-reality that just bleeds through the screen. One of my favorite things that Mirror's Edge does is just blindsides you with its skyline. Again and again, you'll be running at 1,000 miles an
Oh,
hour
that's that
through
Todd
a
Howard step out
small
moment, baby.
corporate office, smash your way through a door, and suddenly, blam, there
Why?
you are. Tiny.
Wham bam, thank you, man.
White void. Simulating how light bounces around the world is one of the more challenging parts of our race to photorealism. It's rarely something we can articulate, but it's something that we can just feel. Does this forest look great? Absolutely. Am I mistaking it for a real forest? For a million reasons, of course not. But where games can't land the organic, Mirror's Edge embraces hard lines and uniform surfaces and the sheer cliffs of this future urban landscape. The inherent artificiality of a video game simulation is the perfect complement to this inherently artificial city. In 1893, Chicago hosted the World's Fair.
It's actually the first Jacob Jelly video I've ever seen.
Actually, in 2015,
Like years ago.
in Milan. Who knew? 100 years ago, though, these fairs were actually a pretty huge deal. Previous to 1893, the World's Fair was in Paris, and it was there that they unveiled the Eiffel Tower. This was basically the craziest architectural thing anyone had ever seen, and so Chicago was suitably panicked. How the hell were they supposed to follow that up? How are they supposed to show that American cities, still in their infancy when compared to most of the world, could do impressive stuff too? The answer Chicago landed on wasn't to adapt their old city, it was to build a completely new one, the White City. A far cry from the dark alleys, dirty streets, and proto-skyscrapers of the actual city, this new construction of the World's Fair would be different. The White City would be a neoclassical paradise, because, of course, its architects believed that Greco-Roman design was the pinnacle of human achievement. Each building would be a palace, a temple to the gods of the new age, industry, agriculture, science. It would gleam in the sunlight. It would
Oops, that's not what I
glow
meant to
at
type.
night. The White City, unlike a huge proportion of the world, had electric lights. The White City, unlike a huge proportion of cities, was intricately planned and designed from its outset. It would be welcoming to visitors, easy to navigate, pack visual appeal into every turn, It would have sights that these people had never seen.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
Promise what a city could be. And for the 1893 World's Fair, the White
I'll
City
say, like, this is the first video that I saw by him, but I didn't start watching him, like, religiously until maybe, like, a year or 2 later.
Never, since the
I was
world
missing
began,
out.
had there arisen such a bewildering vision as that which made the name of the White City immortal. Never again will that miracle of loveliness be recreated. On the shores of Lake Michigan, in the heart of the most practical country on earth, bloomed the white flower of perfect architecture, and unto the eyes of all nations was opened the Book of Beauty, whose pages were illuminated by the passion flowers of art.
Self-important, overblown, masturbatory, all of these things are true. I suspect the White City I've created in my head is far more incredible than reality. All I have to go on is carefully staged photographs and books declaring it the white flower of perfect architecture. These descriptions don't mention the thousands of homeless, the exploited workers. They don't mention the abject racism. But despite all of that, and this is something that I can thank my privilege for, I'm still susceptible to the White City. I look at this explosion of Western fetishization and I'm hit with this wave of wanderlust. It's an emotion that's all the more pointed because both the fair and the sense of wonder created by the fair don't exist anymore. We have piles of photographs from the World's Fair, and all of them look almost unreal. The level of grandeur, the perfect cleanliness. It's a familiar unreality too. They look like a movie set. The White City, though it hosted hundreds of thousands, wasn't built to be a real place. And as such, behind all of its lavish columns and sculptures and new technology, the White City
Oh,
hid a
Lord.
wooden facade.
Welcome back.
The World's Fair advertised a new kind of urban environment, one that was beautiful and cultured and intentionally designed. But after the fair's year in the spotlight, it was quickly abandoned. The fairgrounds stood empty as unsanctioned homes for Chicago's vagrant populations and shelters for workers on strike. And then the White City burned to the ground. The world of Mirror's Edge is a dystopian perfection. Its flawless blue skies and sleek towers of glass belie a corporate corruption and violent police presence that somehow surpasses even our own. The city's striking architectural unanimity is because of top-down thought control, each building intentionally scrubbed of any reminder of protest or rebellion. Faith spends so much time on the rooftops, staring at the skyline, because her existence is illegal. She's not welcome on the streets. But for fleeting moments while playing Mirror's Edge, while flying over roofs and through windows, I and Faith get to forget that oppression. In the quiet seconds between conflict, we can look out on those gorgeously modeled textures, pitch-perfect lighting, carefully considered skylines. We can get swept up in that artificial majesty. I know, of course, that Mirror's Edge isn't photorealistic, but these century-old pictures of the White City aren't photo-real either. Not really. They're presenting a hyper-reality, a version of real life that's elevated far past our everyday experiences. And even though I know about all the rot hiding just out of view, this fantasy still grips me. I just don't see how games can look any better than this.
Love you, Jacob. My man. This is a video I haven't seen in a while.
Every now and
This is a
again,
good one.
video game decides to. Every now and again, a video game decides to do one thing, just one thing, really well. The designers pick just one mechanic or one focused gameplay style, one experience they want the player to have, and they work on doing that thing better than anyone else. No extra systems, no bloat, just focused design. And while these games don't appeal to everyone, they strongly appeal to players who want that one thing. If a mechanic doesn't support that one thing, it's not needed. Like how Doom lets you shoot demons. There's no deep story, no upgrade system, no points of interest or audio logs to discover. You just shoot stuff, and it does that really well. Classic games sometimes become classic because they do their central mechanic better than anyone else, and they often end up changing the industry in that specific design area. So what if movement, just the process of navigating a game, was so fun it became the game itself? Hi, I'm Josh Stroface. Now, there have been video games focused on movement before, specifically the original Prince of Persia game, which featured rotoscoped movement for realistic running, jumping, grabbing, and fighting, or indie games like Cluster Truck, but they never quite captured the public's imagination as much as, say, shooting something or driving did. In the past, movement was seen as this necessary evil, this transition period between where the game actually happened, not the game itself. So in 2008, the game development company DICE, best known for the
Oh yeah, I love Josh. I've only seen a few of his videos, but they're really good.
Movement, and it was going to do movement better than any other game before. They wanted to do movement so well, in fact, that movement would be the
Coffee cup British man.
to play the game. The process of moving through the level was no longer a transition between gameplay moments, but the gameplay itself. A first-person parkour-based speed game. And that game was Mirror's Edge. And it did indeed do movement incredibly well. In fact, it had excellent level design, beautiful stylized graphics, smooth and responsive controls, great character animation, and a rather satisfying feeling of speed and fluidity, especially when you managed to actually pull off the crazy parkour idea that you had. It even had a story written by Rhianna Pratchett, daughter of legendary author Terry Pratchett.
Love to see it.
Why isn't Mirror's Edge more famous, and why didn't it change the industry more than it did? It sold well enough to get a sequel a few years later in Mirror's Edge Catalyst, and those who played the original do speak highly of it. So why didn't this game or this franchise stick around? To find out, I've gone back and replayed the whole thing. From hidden rooftops to damp sewers to climactic shootouts in high-rise offices, I'll critique the movement, the gunplay, the story, and then answer a simple question. Mirror's Edge, was it actually any good? As usual, a massive thank you to all the supporters on Patreon, YouTube, and Twitch who keep the channel alive. More information on how you can support at the end. For now, let's begin. Nowadays, parkour is probably best known from the 2009 cold opening of The Office Season 6, where Michael and the team roll around on the furniture and then Andy jumps into the box. Lots of people remember parkour as this flash-in-the-pan fad, but it was actually quite popular for several years before that. Cast your mind back to 2003. Over here in the UK, Channel 4 released a documentary called Jump London, which followed 3 urban freerunners, focusing on the French freerunner Sebastian Foucault.
That's him. That was his name, Sebastian. He's actually technically in Mirror's Edge, allegedly. Because there's one character who's actually right in this scene here, like when you jump into the glass overhead and fall through and that guy picks you up. That guy's apparently Sebastian. And his voice isn't credited, but it sounds and kind of looks just like him, I guess. So, like, everyone's like, oh, it's probably him. They just, as an Easter egg, which is neat. I don't know if it's true, but it's neat.
But now including the group Urban Free Flow. Jump Britain travelled around the country and performed parkour on various famous landmarks and obstacles. Now, I loved this documentary as a teenager, and I will never forget the awe-inspiring moment when Sebastian jumps over a gap in the open roof of the Millennium Stadium in Wales. It was an awe-inspiring stunt. It was an incredibly dangerous stunt, and it was done to show off how interesting parkour could be to watch. Watching these athletes at the top of their game performing effectively death-defying stunts. And it worked. The documentary was another huge success. So parkour was popular enough over in the UK and beginning to take hold in America, but it wouldn't hit mainstream appeal until 2006, with the opening scene from the James Bond film Casino Royale. The film opens with James Bond chasing the bad guy through a construction site as they jump over various building materials, climb up still being constructed buildings, and forward roll on the floor. It was an incredibly successful scene of a very well-received film. This was probably the moment the whole parkour thing began to take cultural hold, but here's the most interesting thing about that. That actor in Casino Royale, in that opening scene, that is Sebastian Foucault, the French freerunner who wanted to bring parkour to the masses by doing those 2 documentaries, Jump London and Jump Britain, succeeded by being cast in a James Bond film. The same year, games developer DICE, known for the immensely successful Battlefield series, wanted to diversify what they were known for, to step away from just shooting and make a game focused entirely on movement, where movement wasn't just the in-between act of getting around the game, from the good bit to the next good bit, but was instead the good bit itself. So that year they announced Mirror's Edge, a first-person parkour game, and they would state it was heavily inspired by the opening chase scene from Casino Royale. In 2007, the game's first few teaser trailers and in-game images came out, and those first few trailers were live-action trailers featuring our old friend, Sebastian Foucan. And in 2008, Mirror's Edge released and won Critics' Choice of Best Original Game at E3. It originally released on the Xbox 360 and the PS3, and then a PC port came later in 2009. For this video, I'll be playing the PC port. Levels are exactly the same, but the load times are a lot shorter. However, there is no windowed mode, and if you want to play Mirror's Edge on PC, you will face some bugs, which I will cover later. So boot it up, and the main menu theme is calm and serene, as simple and as elegant as the basic white buildings of the background. White building cityscape, bright red name and logo with trance music. So let's mention this briefly before looking into it more later. Mirror's Edge is dripping with style.
Dripping.
I love when a game goes for recognizable
Delicious.
art style over just photorealism, because great style ages like wine, and Mirror's Edge still looks great. The art direction of extremely bold colors, brilliant bright whites, vivid reds, deep oranges, vibrant greens. The color palette is stunning, and it's not just a visual choice either. These colors are mechanical hints too. So we start the game and get the opening cutscene.
Once the city used to pulse with energy, dirty and dangerous, but alive and
I need to put a bunny in the game. I should work on one.
It's something else.
That reminds me, I still gotta make fucking a few characters to deliver to. I have a few models already made that I was gonna use, but
And accepted them.
I'll make some more.
They chose
I don't have enough.
a life. Some didn't. And those who refused to conform were pushed to the sidelines, criminalized. They became our clients. We call ourselves runners. We exist on the edge, between the gloss and the reality. The mirror's edge.
Animated and as stylized as the rest of the game. You are Faith, a runner, a courier of contraband information in a futuristic dystopian government-controlled city. The voice acting is decent and the main cast is pretty simple. You've got Faith, Merc, the guy who sits in the control room and gives you instructions through a headset, and Celeste, another runner and a longtime friend of yours. Our first level is training, and while you can skip this level, it's actually a very well-paced, enjoyable tutorial, because not only is it going to give us all the moves we need, but you can complete it in different, more complex ways when you already know what to do, making it a fun thing to replay. First off, it is extremely easy to die. Your biggest enemy is gravity, and while the later levels do have people shooting at you, falling too far is instant death, and when you're blind leaping over buildings, this can happen a lot. So let's look at the gameplay. The world is mostly white, but you'll see certain bits highlighted in red. This is your runner vision, letting you know, hey, use this, it's important. Could be a ramp to jump off, a pipe to climb, a ledge to grab, a door to open. It's a beautifully elegant, in-universe way of drawing the player's attention by using the art style itself, not an arrow or a HUD, because you don't actually have any HUD at all. No health bar, no compass, no ammo count. You only see what Faith sees. The only thing that's non-diegetic, if you will, is the tiny dot in the center of the screen, and this was only added to reduce motion sickness. You can jump, crouch, which becomes a slide if used while moving, or if you crouch at the moment of landing a jump, you'll forward roll, which prevents both fall damage and maintains momentum into the flow state, which we'll look at in a second. You can also perform a quick 180 spin, and that's pretty much it. It feels bare bones, but what sets Mirror's Edge apart is the context-sensitive use of these things and what the game calls the flow state. Running uninterrupted for a short time gets you into the flow state. The screen blurs around the edge and your movements become faster, and now any action you do, you'll do quicker. You'll recover from faster, letting you chain moves together, and chain you will. Run, jump. Press jump at the right time to scramble up a wall faster. Press crouch when landing to roll, run at an edge to climb up it and grab the top and throw yourself over, run at a wall at an angle to run along it and then jump off in the middle of the wall run. You can spin around and jump back on yourself to effectively jump from one wall to another. You can swing from bars, climb ladders, climb drain pipes, slide down them, shimmy across ledges, spot stacks of boxes in step formations and use them as springboards to jump even higher, vault over fences or office equipment, grab zip lines, land on giant soft-covered boxes, shoulder barge through doors, smash through glass, jumping and crouching while in the air pulls your legs up so you can make it over barbed wire fences. You can balance over the dizzying heights on a thin beam or full-on Jackie Chan this and slide down the angled glass windows of massive buildings. And you'll do all this to the soundtrack of paced techno, footsteps, and Faith's own breathing. It's a game about movement, and that's it. There's no crafting system, no armor, no power-ups, no unlockable moves, no level-up system, no minimap, no stamina bar, no inventory. Nothing to divert your attention or focus away from the pure, distilled process of moving through the level. And that hyper-focus on what the experience specifically is without any extra or superfluous systems dragging your attention away is beautiful. Mirror's Edge is a big 3D physics-based puzzle platformer, and when you're in that flow state and your movement is just working and everything you want to happen happens, it's beautiful. The problem is that feeling of power and control is delicate and super easy to lose. Miss a jump, mistime a roll, miss a ledge grab, and you lose everything. You lose all your momentum, and now you're just awkwardly, clunkily scrambling up the side of a building. That lovely, silky smooth flow you had across the level, that's all gone. Landing hard instead of rolling loses all the momentum that you've built up. This means whenever you walk into a new area, you are looking for the lines, the flow, the movement from point A to point B. You're planning out parkour in your mind, working out the best way to get past this part of the puzzle. And this can take a few attempts, but the game only has 11 levels, and each level only takes about 20 to 30 minutes to complete. Mirror's Edge is an extremely short game, but what it is incredibly replayable because of the sheer variety of ways that you can get through the levels. There are so many viable routes from A to B in every level that you'll be replaying it just to test out whether a theory you have actually works. And because you're not bogged down with all these extra systems that you need to learn, replaying a level means only one thing. Do the one system that you're acquainted with, movement, better. Now, at any point in the level, you can press the guide button, which will quickly pull your vision toward your next objective. No maps or markers, no pausing, just a quick hint of, hey, go over there. These are effectively invisible check marks throughout the level, and while you're lost in an office or pinned down by snipers, it's handy to get that quick reminder of, hey, this way, without breaking the immersion. So how does difficulty work? Because hard mode doesn't change the level layout and there's not that much combat. Well, instead, it removes your runner vision, meaning you no longer see certain objects in red, so now you're relying on your own memory of the level layout and your understanding of the mechanics and hoping they work consistently, which is one of the game's few but very noticeable flaws. Certain surfaces look climbable but aren't. Others don't look climbable but are, same with pipes and ledges. Sometimes you'll see jumps and drops which look totally viable but will actually kill you, and then a longer and more damaging jump later is actually totally fine. Mirror's Edge demands mechanical consistency from you as a player. You must jump at the right time and roll at the right time every time, but it doesn't always offer the same consistency back, which can make some deaths feel very unfair. So effectively, Mirror's Edge is an easy to pick up but hard to master movement system about going fast and going smoothly around a futuristic, highly stylized dystopian city. And if that was all it was, it would be brilliant, because those systems, movement, style, and music are good enough to carry the game as an experience by itself. However, I'm going to assume that somebody at DICE pretty high up got cold feet about making a game just about movement and decided they needed to add guns. And gunplay in Mirror's Edge, despite being technically fine on a moment-to-moment level, is unfortunately the exact opposite of what Mirror's Edge is meant to be. It is not smooth, it is not fast, it is clunky, it is slow, it is heavy. And unfortunately, every time you are forced to engage with it, it is the absolute antithesis of what the game is meant to be. It takes away all of the skill and the fun and the flow that the parkour has built up and replaces it with stand still, hide in cover, shoot the bad guys. Indeed, the few times you are forced to engage with the gunplay, it actively harms the pacing of the game. You've got a basic punch combo or a crouched combo. If you jump, you can kick while in the air or slide and then kick on the ground. You can even wall run, leap off and do a spinning kick, but there aren't that many places to pull this trick off. The enemies you'll be facing are mostly government or private security agents. Punch them enough and they'll die, but make sure you vary your moves, because if you use one move repeatedly, they will notice that, counter you and hit you. Or if you don't want to fight, you can run up to them and wait for them to try and punch you with their guns. And when they do this, you'll see a very brief moment when their gun flashes red. You have to press disarm at this exact moment, which on PC is right click, and if you time it right, you'll take the gun and knock the enemy out. Now, to help you do this, you can use slow-mo, a limited resource that you build up by being in the flow state for long periods of time. This basically makes timing the red disarm a lot easier, and it's the only thing slow-mo is used for. If you're lucky enough to sneak up on an enemy, you can also disarm them from behind. Now, because combat isn't the focus of the game, you are heavily discouraged from ever engaging enemies, but if you see an enemy highlighted in red, that is the game's way of telling you you will need to go past this enemy. However, you don't need to fight them or disarm them, you just need to get past them. There are only two times in the game where you need to fight. One is a very clunky boss fight, and the other is a light machine gun.
I hated that boss fight so much.
While you're climbing a ladder, unless you disarm them first. So we've taken a guard out and got their gun. What now? Well, you've got no HUD and no ammo count.
The whole level kind of
Without
sucks.
your gun, you have no flow state, slower jumps and limited parkour, and that's provided you're carrying a weapon.
Oh my god. Oh, that scared the shit out of me. I keep forgetting it's a fucking thing, and it's so loud in comparison to all the other audio. Oh my goodness, I need to adjust that. That's funny. I fuck. To win, Family Dollar. I love that. Oh my god, that made my heart skip a beat. This feels fine. It's a good jump scare every time it happens.
The best thing to do in any situation. Being shot while running or trying to parkour or in the flow state slows you down or knocks you off course. On harder difficulty, it kills you pretty fast. So while the original focus of Mirror's Edge is movement focused, ignore enemies out.
Wait, I'm a jump scare. Oh.
If you're ever actually faced with enemies, the best choice is always slow-mo disarm one of them, use their gun to shoot another, drop the first gun, grab the second, repeat, John Wick your way through hordes of armored up baddies. On hard difficulty, this matters even more. And the problem is, you've taken parkour your way past enemies, which is a fun, unique gameplay loop, and replaced it with shoot the enemies, which is relatively uninteresting. It genuinely feels like they went all in on movement being the focus, effectively trying to make the natural evolution of the 3D platformer, and then someone high up, some executive, got cold feet about this and was worried that people wouldn't play a game purely about movement, so insisted they add gunplay. Mirror's Edge was so close to being a game which did one thing incredibly well, but they just had to add in shooting, which doesn't support the main gameplay loop of speed. Instead, it detracts from it. So now we know what we're getting into mechanics-wise, let's play. Training on the roof. Faith has been recovering from an injury, so needs to get her skills back. That's a lovely narrative justification for the training system. Graphics are lovely, controls are tight, and you are chasing your friend Celeste across the rooftops, being introduced to every mechanic you'll need as you go. Jumping, rolling, climbing, swinging, and zip lines. The sight lines are lovely, and you get to see Celeste do the moves you'll need to do and then have a clear path to follow and copy. But if you want to show off or just test yourself, you can climb the level in different ways. The great thing about this level is they've included advanced possibilities that you won't even notice you can do until you're more familiar with the game. Falling from zip lines does take a few tries, release too late and you'll die, so aim for the big red square. Run, leap, grab ladders, and then a basic combat tutorial, which is just 3 attacks. It never really explains how or what to do when. And when you've done this, you can choose to just stay here a bit, which you will, because the level is a giant loop with loads of jumps you've not found yet, and it's pretty fun to explore. Now, from a narrative point of view, remember this. We have started the game on a roof, in the sun, mostly jumping from high to low, and things are clean. We have 2 people supporting us, our friend Celeste and the radio controller Merc. After this, cue the actual intro movie.
Gummy worm. Me too, man. I remember that.
Yeah, I'm sure the birds are real impressed, mate. But once you finish showing off,
the cinematic ends with the jump, and the level starts with Merc commenting on the jump, which is a great way to tie cutscenes and gameplay together. So it's nice and simple. Find a runner bag and get it to Celeste. Do your job. Nothing world-ending, nothing complex. Lots of objects to play around on, and no
Yeah,
time limit.
damn it.
And I love this mode
headphone
where
cord.
you see
There we go.
red splatters on the wall and think, oh, is it blood? But no, it's just red paint. That's a subversion of violent
That's red paint,
expectations.
baby.
The game doesn't need violence to be enjoyable. It's almost a tongue-in-cheek commentary on your expectations of the language of games. Normally, red splatters mean blood, and that means danger, but here it means paint, because the dangerous thing is the level design. Now, while most of Mirror's Edge does take place outside, on the roof, in the big open spaces, there are a couple of levels that take place purely inside, which have you climbing up stacks of boxes, climbing rigging, or through vent shafts. And while they're not as grand scale as the outside area, there is a definite satisfaction towards spotting the route through a densely packed interior section. Now, while exploring, you'll also find a runner bag. There are 30 of these hidden throughout the game. The first one is the only one you have to find. All the others are purely optional, and they are hidden in some extremely hard to reach places. The replayability of the game very much leans into the fact that you will not find these on your first playthrough because your skill levels simply won't be high enough to reach them. So I'm playing on PC. The game runs great, but a few issues if you have a multi-monitor setup. First of all, you can't run in windowed mode. One of your monitors will always be the game full screen. You can't even force this in Steam. This means you'll need to minimize or Alt-Tab away if you want to do something else, which leads to a strange bug. While playing, your cursor is locked to the program as you'd expect, but if you Alt-Tab away and then Alt-Tab back, your cursor is now not locked to the game anymore, meaning you can now drift off the game, and if you click on a second monitor while playing, you'll likely crash the game. This makes recording footage or multitasking while playing quite annoying. So we grab the bag and go and meet Celeste, but we're spotted by the local police helicopter, and now we are being chased. Cue the kick-ass music, the flow state, bullets flying, and the adrenaline pounding, because running away from enemies is great. Eventually reach Cell and throw her the bag, but we are pinned down, more enemies, so we escape in the most over-the-top way possible, leaping off the building and hitching a ride hanging off the same helicopter that's chasing us, with a beautiful camera pan around to show Faith's reflection, existing literally on the mirror's edge. Great opening, solid gameplay, striking style, so let's talk about Faith. Now, without getting preachy or political, because I am definitely not the right person to champion that cause, gaming in general and protagonists within gaming are usually Western and usually male. That is just a fact. There are no shortage of games with protagonists that look like me. In fact, in the same year that Mirror's Edge came out, we got another Metal Gear Solid, another Call of Duty, another Devil May Cry, another Gears of War, another Star Wars The Force Unleashed, the new Alone in the Dark, and Dead Space. You can see the pattern with these protagonists. So to take a brand new franchise, which is a risk, focused on movement only, which is another risk, and then to give it an Asian woman as a protagonist is a massive risk. In fact, most businesses would say, we're already taking 2 risks on the genre of this game itself, and because parkour is mostly enjoyed by guys, we should make the protagonist a Western male. And if you go back and read message boards of the time, you can see that this choice to cast an Asian female as the main character definitely brought out the dregs of society. But I'm glad I committed to it because I think that Faith Connors is a fantastic bit of character design. Faith Connors is neither infantilized by the game or other characters just because she is a woman, nor is she massively overpowered just to enhance her femininity. She's not a damsel in distress character that needs to be rescued by anyone else, nor is she a Mary Sue shining icon of unearned girl power. She's a capable but still vulnerable athlete who lost her parents in the November riots within the context of the game. She's not overly sexualized, and she dresses appropriate for the activities that she's going to be engaging in. I don't think she's the most interesting of protagonists because the story just doesn't do enough to draw you into her life, but in general, she is a totally fine main character. You'll also notice the symbol of the game is Faith's eye tattoo, which she got to commemorate her first run, and her iconic circuit board tattoo on her arm is a reference to her mother. All in all, solid character design. Back at base, we pick up some radio chatter about a shootout in a government building across town. Now, normally, we wouldn't care about this, but Kate, Faith's sister, is mentioned, and she works for the government, so we run over to check. New mechanic, electric fences, and as you approach, a rat runs at the fence and dies, and this does 2 things really nicely. It shows the player the danger of the fence, and it continues the rat theme. because rats pop up a lot. They're scurrying around, and sometimes they'll be helping the player learn mechanics like the fence rat, and sometimes they're being shot by snipers like the sewer rat. Sometimes they guide you to hidden bags like the vent rat, but they're always just out of reach and always running, which is a lovely parallel with Faith and the police, although in this case, you are the rat, constantly chased, able to traverse the land just ahead of anything scary, often trapped in mazes or vents. The rats aren't presented as bad or unclean, they're just living their life within this massive city, not hurting anyone. Same as you. There's also a secret Easter egg where you can spawn a giant rat to run down the road, and we'll see that later. So
I love that one.
fence, make
I do it every time.
find Kate, but here's where the plot kicks off. There is a dead guy slumped over.
It's especially mansplaining because he's British. That's where the mansplaining is stored. It's stored in the British mind.
Old friend of Kate and Faith.
And it's not really British unless you're from, you know,
for mayor. However, he felt he was being
the
followed
British,
by Kate as he trusts her, but
fuck
then
it, I don't know,
he
factory.
and Poe
Hell
was
yeah.
shot with Kate's
That was a good bit,
gun.
and that one's free, but the next one's gonna cost you
Him out, and Kate is being
your
framed
life.
for the murder, and Kate tells us to leave quickly, and if we can, find Lieutenant Miller. They are a good cop, and we can trust them. Before we leave, we take a scrap of paper from Pope's desk, and it mentions something called Project Icarus. The escape the building section is great, tightly designed level.
Why is the fence
lots of paths
spicy?
to keep the
I love
fun
him.
going. It's a playground. It's fun, and it
A little
ends with
animal.
stunning leap and then slide down the side of the building itself, flinging yourself to a nearby roof.
How does
and
that
then
go?
making your way down
Yes,
the
make that
street.
convex. No, wait, I
Moving
can't
off
just do
into an
that.
elevator
There's
from
the
the
balcony.
floor.
Fuck.
This is actually a hidden loading screen, but it's used quite well because while in elevators, you will both hear announcements and be able to read news reports on the scrolling screen.
Heard of that?
And these reports
yeah.
are often world building. For example, early on, you'll see an advert for the New Eden Mall, and then later in the game, you'll visit the New Eden Mall. There's even some tongue-in-cheek jokes because one of the reports is, "Are your children committing running, the newest wave of crime?" Signs of running include a fondness for the color red. So these are both downtime between the action and a nice little bit of world building. On the ground, we are being chased still, so it's into an open plaza and then into the subway, the constant drone of the helicopter tracking you above. And it ends with a cinematic dive onto a glass roof, and a beautifully framed chopper flies overhead. And now a cool cameo, or at least we think it is.
Oh yeah, he talks about the thing here, that's right.
Helps us up and then runs off. They have one voice line, but they're not credited anywhere in the game, or on the game's IMDb page. The theory is that Krieg is voiced by and a direct homage to Sebastian Foucan. Now, we don't have many leads, but we do hear about fellow runner Jackknife being linked in some way to Pope, or at least close to the event. So we set off to hunt down Jackknife and see if he knows what's going on. And this level starts with the second of the main gameplay loops, the slow, no-pressure puzzle. When you're not being chased, you'll be studying the level design and working out the route through. And these moments of calm, logical downtime contrast nicely with the intense action-packed chase scenes, giving you that moment of peace before the panic. And enjoy the peace while it lasts, because now we're running down a storm drain aqueduct with police snipers after us, and you can see the red laser sights, so avoid them. And I love how the debris and level set dressing is often angled to effectively point you in the correct direction. It's a non-invasive visual hint. Down into the storm drain itself, and now we've got valves which stop deadly steam. I'm not a fan of the valve mechanic because it kills all flow and has you stand dead still and slowly turn a handle. What these valves actually are enemy checks, because if you're being chased or haven't cleared a room, trying to use a valve is a death sentence because you'll be shot while standing still. Descend into the storm drain and a police gunship follows you down, shooting as it goes, and only pulls up when you get so low down it's dangerous for it to be there. Such a great set piece. And now a button with a timed door, but be fast because missing the timing by even a little bit will have you crushed by the door. Inside the main underground aqueduct is a massive room, great sight lines, lots of cover, and lots of leaps over height, and now enemy snipers. But if you can sneak up on one and take them out, that's now our sniper. And you've got a basic zoom and one headshot is all it takes, but you can't swing or climb while you're holding a sniper, so shoot, drop, and get back to running. I like the small touch of when you use this zipline, you brace your impact against the wall with your feet. Now, being first person, this means they had to model most of Faith's lower body, and all associated animations. And this was actually quite technical for the time. DICE even gave a GDC talk about how they worked on the first person animations. The game has hundreds of unique first-person animations. And as DICE explained, the simple act of jumping to, grabbing, and then climbing a ladder has over 40 animations alone. Grabbing it from every possible angle, climbing, descending, hanging with one hand, shooting...
Brit's Flame is arguably worse.
...or falling from. The lighting system was so complex that DICE had to team up with the company Illuminate Labs just to render each level. And it works. I love how you can see the flashlights of the police hunting squad down below as you shimmy across the upper ledge. Mirror's Edge feels like a film. If you're after a more thorough and focused analysis of just the movement of Mirror's Edge, YouTuber Tony has a fantastic video called How Mirror's Edge Perfected Video Game Movement. I'll link it in the video description. Slide down the waterway, leap over some gaps, and here's a nice touch. Emerging from the darkness of the aqueduct back into the light, and your eyes take a second to adjust, and then they take a further few seconds for your runner vision to kick in and important objects to slowly fade into red. Like Faith is taking in the new environment and processing the route just like the player. Raise this crane wire up and ride the beams to the top of another storm drain, and then back to being chased. Shotgun police this time, and as fun as the combat can be, as satisfying as it is to shoot an enemy, I'm still of the opinion it detracts from the focus of the game. Because jumping into and out of cover, waiting for your health to recover between shots, just isn't what this game is about. Eventually we spot Jackknife and give chase. A lovely chase sequence, and I love this cheeky moment of almost catching him, but the lift doors close and him just waving at you. This cockiness doesn't last, however, as Jackknife makes a jump, the scenery he grabs onto falls, and he knocks himself out on a roof, letting us run around and reach him, taken down by your own arrogance. Jackknife tells us Robert Pope hired a private security firm, and he was working with an ex-wrestler called Ropeburn. But Ropeburn is corrupt. He has ties to surveillance companies. And if Pope became mayor, it would be devastating for those companies. So it's likely that Ropeburn had Pope killed. With this, we go and hunt down Lieutenant Miller, the good cop that Kate mentioned, and we share our information. We ask about Project Icarus, and Miller doesn't know. He does seem decent. And we leave this conversation with...
Kate's the only family I have, Lieutenant. And blues in jail don't last long. She goes down for this, it's a death sentence.
I won't stop you. I owe that much to Kate. But there are plenty of people who'll try, and I can't stop them either. You better learn how to run.
Running is what I do best.
The voice cast is fine for the time, nothing groundbreaking, and unfortunately none of the voice actors would return for the sequel, which isn't quite a sequel, but that's another video. So we set off to find Ropeburn, Pope's corrupt ex-wrestling security officer, leaping from roof to roof, breaking into the building and crawling through vents to eavesdrop. It seems that Ropeburn does know about us and a little about Project Icarus, but we don't hear enough before he leaves the room. However, we can't hang around for long because security are onto us, and this is more of a challenging escape, which makes use of guns really well. You can punch or kick glass panels out before jumping across the gaps, and you need to leap from floor to floor of this office block, but punching the glass slows you down. If you can, however, grab a pistol during your run, you can shoot the glass out before reaching it and leap through straight away, conserving momentum. That is a great way of combining gunplay to enhance parkour, not to slow it down. The lift is broken, so a quick scurry up the inner shaft, and then outside onto a
Scurries up your inner shaft. Ooh.
It's easy to get turned around and lost here. I love this moment of jump kicking a guy off.
I still haven't found that fucking orange staircase, wherever it may be.
Escape yet as we climb up onto this crane.
It's gotta be around somewhere, right?
Off onto another.
Oh, unless it's like Z fighting, and like maybe it's like under a different staircase. That would explain some things.
Did you just do what I think you did? God damn it, girl! I just spilled my Joe all over the keyboard.
Hey, can you get a message to Miller? I need to see him again.
Sure.
With that death-defying leap made and extra evidence on Ropeburn, we meet back up with good cop Lieutenant.
Oh hey, here's some orange I gotta get rid of. Ooh.
He's Travis.
Get that out of here.
Pope's head of security.
You think he killed Pope?
Maybe. He sure as hell set Kate up. Wanted a cop to go down for it. And he wasn't alone. Heard him mention Project Icarus.
Burfield is dangerous, Faith. He's not someone you want to mess with.
He framed my sister.
I'm sorry, Faith.
For what?
For this. I don't want Kate to go down for this either. But we've got private firms muscling in on our districts. Bolstering city security, they call it. They're breathing down our necks, waiting for us to slip up. The only way they might go easy on us, and easy on Kate, is if I give them...
Me.
Yes.
All I care about is Kate. And for her sake, I'm gonna let you go. But if you pull a gun on me again, I will kill you.
I
Alright,
won't
seems things
hesitate,
aren't going
bitch.
the way we expected. We're in over our heads here. Time to get answers directly from Ropeburn. The sunset throws this soft golden blanket of light over everything, and we run into the still being constructed building, and hey look, shadows from the construction lights. That is a lovely touch. A radio update lets us know that our sister Kate is now being taken into police custody, and this building is an absolute labyrinth to climb through, but eventually we do find Ropeburn. Unfortunately, he's having a meeting with Lieutenant Miller. Damn, we should not have trusted him. Head up the stairs and quick time event. You get grabbed, thrown, and attacked. And this, annoyingly, is an instant death bit unless you press disarm at the exact moment Ropeburn swings for you. Now this is extremely jarring because it's going against everything the player knows about cutscenes. So far, every time you've been in a cutscene, you don't want to press any button because you would skip the cutscene and potentially lose important story context. But this is effectively a gameplay cutscene because you need to engage with it or die instantly. But if you do disarm Ropeburn, he almost falls off the building, and we ask for information. But before we can interrogate him too much, this happens.
You set up Kate Connors, didn't you?
That little cop? Yeah.
Had to be a cop, right?
I don't mess in politics.
Who killed Pope? You?
No! I hired someone.
Who?
A professional. Meeting him tomorrow, 2 p.m. Atrium in the mall, downtown. You'll recognize him.
Why were you with Miller?
You sure you want to know about that? Pull me up and I'll tell you. Watch him, Faith.
Try anything and you're roadkill.
Sure. Ah!
Shit! Merc, someone's shooting. They got Ropeburn. What the?
Who's about to crash the party, Faith? Get out of there.
It seems Ropeburn knew too much, so we run away as more police come. And the game now includes lots of sections of having to blind run around corners and jump into the unknown just to grab things, down into the subway and along the train tracks. We even dodge incoming trains in both directions, and there's a short puzzle to unlock some doors, but eventually you have to leap over a walkway onto the roof of a moving train. And while standing on it, you have to dodge the low-hanging signs and then jump over the maintenance pipes and duck under the walkways. This is another extremely fun but instant death on a small mistake bit. And one interesting mechanic, because I died on this bit several times and had to keep redoing it, the positions of these signs, pipes and walkways is random. You can't just learn the pattern because it changes every time you try and do it. But eventually the train we're on stops and another is barreling toward us, so we dodge out the tunnel just in time and escape. Before he died, Ropeburn told us he was meeting a contact at the new Eden Mall. Before we go there though, we take a small breather and have a chat with Celeste.
What you're doing now, Faith, is the fastest way to get yourself killed.
They got my sister involved, Sel. And I need to clear her name. I owe her that much. I'll survive. That's what we do.
Survival is overrated. You need to live a little, too.
Hey, you want to come with me tomorrow? Could use the help.
Can't. Drake's got me on a job. Says I've been slacking. Look, I've gotta go.
It's fine. Someone's bound to start shooting at me soon. Get going.
Faith. Take care.
Here we
The new Eden Mall should be ahead of you, but watch it. Mayor Callahan's on some kind of campaign drive-about. A few streets away, so there are roadblocks all over the place.
We follow Ropeburn's final lead and head to the new Eden Mall to meet their contact there. So we hop through the underpass up onto the roof and more police, and I think I'm being smart seeing this as a shortcut, but no, that is just death. Drop from one zip line onto another mid-zip, spot Ropeburn's contact, and they are dressed as a cop, but when they see us, they run away, and they run away very well. The mall is another lovely internal playground, vents, stopping fans, dropping from floor to floor, and after escaping, we know that that cop, Ropeburn's contact, was running far too well to be a normal cop. So we pay another visit to our old friend Jackknife, because they are the only runner we know that would have been capable of that kind of escape.
Hey, Faithy. Nice of you to drop by.
With a little bit of persuasion, Ropeburn was pretty chatty. Told me about his meeting with Pope's killer at the mall.
And you're thanking me, right?
But when I got there, guess who was waiting for me?
No idea, Faithy. I just go there for the pretzels.
Bad case of the blues. You wouldn't happen to know anything about that, would you?
No, Faithy. It wasn't me. Besides, if I wanted you dead, do you think I would have just killed you myself?
You're right. A creep like you couldn't have organized.
Now, don't be like that.
This one might actually be,
I'm impressed.
well,
Wasn't me.
the one up here just for the,
Try not to
because
get
it's already
yourself
here, why not?
Merc, you can stop pretending not to listen now.
What's up?
Can you do a search on Pirandello Kruger Security?
On it.
Why do you ask?
Been seeing their name around. In Ropeburn's office and somewhere else. Distinctive logo. Getting anything?
Just what you'd expect. Alarms, fencing, armored cars, private security. Oh, and they secure our world, apparently.
Where are they based?
A few offices around town. Just got a new place down near the docks.
Get me some coordinates. I'm gonna go check it out.
So that wasn't Jackknife, but this new security firm, Pirandello Kruger, they're worth investigating because they're popping up everywhere. I like how Faith lifts her hands up onto the glass, alternating as you turn away. Again, the animations are spot on. We've learned that Roteburn's killer has been seen at the shipyard on the deck of a container ship, linked to the Pirandello Kruger security company. So welcome to the Pirandello Kruger packing facility, likely a front for whatever they are working on. Probably the best level in the game in terms of combining an excellent open outside area and tight inside walkways, sightlines, explosive barrels, and available combat. You've got almost every mechanic here, combining and stacking really nicely. This level does, however, highlight how much forced combat interrupts the flow of the game. If you plan a route which involves combat, you must be perfect with your disarm timings, because one mistake and you will die fast. More stacking mechanics by combining a timed steam vent with a jump and swing, and eventually we traverse the inner maintenance tunnels and fall into a secret research lab. And here, we discover more about Project Icarus. It seems the government, and Pirandello Security specifically, rule the city with an iron fist. They control the flow of information. Their biggest problem is us, the runners. So Project Icarus is training a load of police to also be free runners.
It's so funny.
That's it. Once we discover that, some Project Icarus troops appear and we run, except this time, anywhere you run, they can and will chase you. They also have electro-stun batons, so you should not take them on in hand-to-hand combat. So the story, it's not the best, and I don't think this is because the story itself is bad. I think because you're trying to cram an epic tale into 4 hours worth of gameplay. You don't really have time to really get to know any of the good guys, the bad guys, or the reasons anyone wants anything. And it's not because Rhianna Pratchett is a bad author. She actually went on to write the next Prince of Persia game and BioShock Infinite. She can write, but Mirror's Edge doesn't play to her style. I like the dystopian vibe of the city. I like Faith's parents' backstory, but this Project Icarus, where they're just training police to run a little bit better, I assumed Project Icarus was going to be a full-on city-wide dystopian surveillance state, not teach the police parkour. But you don't play Mirror's Edge for the story, you play it for the mechanics, and mechanically the introduction of Icarus troops is actually a great idea, because you are now in their training facility, and all the skills that you have come to rely on to help escape from the police are now effectively tested every single time. Seeing an enemy used to be run away and you'll be safe. Now it's run away and keep running, or they will catch you eventually. Being chased by enemies who are as capable and as confident as you, instead of just being shot at, switches the dynamic of this game in a lovely way. Because the game is no longer relying on guns to be scary. It's now relying on focus on your movement, because the enemies are focusing
How's
on
this collider?
yours. So Project Icarus, narratively, is a bit of a weak stretch, but mechanically is actually incredibly fun. We reach the harbour and learn that Roteburn's killer has been seen on the deck of a nearby ship. We start this level with the only forced stealth section. Sneak onto a truck and wait for it to drive you into the ship's cargo hold and then fight your way through. And this is a hard part because a roof above you limits your vertical movement and there are way more enemies. This is one of the few required fights, otherwise you can't climb this ladder. I love this wall run to an angled vent jump, and they are really pushing the limits of what this parkour system can be. And when you're on the deck, you're running toward a gauntlet of snipers, using the laser sights of their guns as beacons to avoid, staying out of sight, hiding under equipment. And when you do reach the killer, they fight just like you. You'll also notice they have a gun, but don't use it. And this mandatory boss fight kills the flow of the game hard, because you will die here a lot until you learn the system. You need to hit this person 7 times to be able to disarm them. But if you do your 3-punch combo, they will always block the 3rd punch and flip you. And if they flip you 2 or 3 times, you die. If you jump kick, they'll likely block, and if you slide kick, they'll backflip away. Now up to this point, your exposure to the combat system has been use slow-mo to disarm people, or just jump kick repeatedly. You've never had to worry about combos or blocking shocking. Now you do, and you can't progress until you win this, and you've had no training about how to win. The trick is, when they kick high, you can slide kick low. You can do 2 punches, then crouch, then do 2 more punches, and then slide kick again. As long as you don't do 3 attacks in a row, you're okay. After enough hits, their gun will glow red. Attempt to perform a disarm, and you will fail, but they will run off and the fight will continue. You give chase, and the chase bit is great. Honestly, I would have preferred if the boss fight was just a complicated chase, and eventually they climb onto a container and you fight again. And when you do win, you finally unmask the killer.
Cell? I tried to warn you off. I'm sorry. You've got to learn to let go, Faith. You remember? Like you did with your family. The runners are screwed. Icarus is just the start. And I want to live, Faith, not just survive. Why Pope? His campaign was getting unexpected support, but he got stupid. Started making threats to the wrong people. High-up people.
He found out about Icarus, so they had you kill him.
Him or me. Sorry about Kate. Didn't know she was your sis.
Don't ask, Mark, okay?
Heard all I need to hear, kiddo. Listen, Krieg says Kate's just been tried.
Already?
Wonders of the Swift Justice.
This program, huh? They found her guilty, Faith.
Of course they did.
Convoy's taking her off to jail in less than an hour.
So all along, the killer was our best friend's Cell. She's been bought by big surveillance. She killed Robert Pope and set our sister Kate up to take the fall. And now Kate's being taken to prison by police convoy. So our mission is to reach a sniper rifle hidden in a high-rise construction project and disrupt the convoy before it arrives. Now, you don't actually see Cell die, but a hidden bit of dialogue at the end of the game confirms after that explosion on the ship, Cell did indeed die. The route to Kate's
Well,
police
geez.
convoy, one of the most dramatic, with the longest and most dangerous wall run sections, more Icarus troops, and then one of my favourite sections, an unbuilt vertical mall. A multi-floor shaft with columns and support beams and scaffolding, and this is one of the best vertical puzzles in the game. And I like how if you step too close to the edge, the camera pans down to show you just how far you're going to fall. This is one of the areas that's the most fun to find the most efficient route. Reach the top, set up the sniper position, and a single well-placed shot to the engine takes out the police convoy. Secret Easter egg here, by the way. If you wait and then shoot the central circle of that distant billboard, a giant rat will run down the street. This is referenced in the next game, Mirror's Edge Catalyst, saying, if you see a giant rat, you're playing the wrong game. So with the convoy disrupted, we run down and meet Kate.
Kate. Kate. Faith? Easy. Effie, I can't believe you've done all this. You're my sister. Take this. It's Mark. He's a friend. He'll guide you away from here. I'll lead the blues away. Come and find you later, okay? Oh, God. Mark!
I couldn't stop them. They took Kate. I got some of the bastards, though.
Where'd they go?
I heard them mention the Shard.
The mayor's place?
Yeah.
Shit, Mark. Let me get someone, a doctor.
Ain't gonna happen, Faith.
I'm sorry, Mark. I'm so sorry.
No, no sorries. Just don't let them win.
So Project Icarus is in full swing. The government and the private security firms are going after the runners. Cell has betrayed us, Merc is dead, and Kate is on the run, potentially captured again. So we have our final goal. Break into the Shard, the central intelligence building, and get some answers, or at least get some revenge. This is the final level, and it's designed to test you and everything you know. And cleverly, it's the opposite of the opening. Remember how we started on the roof in the sun, mostly jumping from high to low, where things are clean and we had two people supporting us, our friends Celeste and Merc? Well, look at us now. We're on the street, we need to go from low to high, things are dirty, and we have no one supporting us. Over the course of the game, your situation has flipped from the start to the end. It's figuratively mirrored. We have a new mechanic here. The door won't open, so we just open a gas valve and the explosion blasts it open, and there's an extremely unforgiving shootout, and then we bump into our old friend, crooked cop Lieutenant Miller.
Good work. Checker.
Gonna shoot me too?
No. Right now, you're Kate's best hope.
Weren't these your guys?
No, they're PK's, Pirandella crewmen, private security.
What's going on, Miller?
Pope's murder. Turns out there was a man on the inside.
Rope burn?
Yes, you were right about him. I tried to get answers myself.
But why Kate?
They needed a CPF cop to look like Pope's killer. No time to explain more. Take this comms unit and head for the roof. It's where they've taken Kate. I'll contact you when it's safe. I'll hold them off. The roof. Go! Now!
Probably gonna start skipping some of the roof colliders unless I really need to do them. Because they just take a lot longer. I'm more focused on the walls because the roof colliders are like more quality of life stuff because they work. They're just a little bumpy. But if there's like a notch or something in the mesh collider on a wall, it'll completely stop your wall run. And I need that to be smooth, so we'll do our best.
Everything. So fight, disarm, shoot the scenery, and head to the roof. Honestly, I think it's kind of a shame that the final level focuses more on gunplay than it does on complex parkour, but it's still an enjoyable experience. And when we finally do reach the roof, one final betrayal.
Hello, Faith.
Jack, you couldn't.
Attitudes like that. Well, that's exactly why I could.
Who's behind this?
Let's just say I know who the bigger fish are.
Callahan. Why us? We're no threat.
Classic warfare. Break the lines of communication. Shoot the messengers. Without Pope. And without the runners. Your clients. Those who just won't let go of the old city we've cut off. Vulnerable. And this city can clean up the last of its dregs.
So this is just the start.
I prefer to think of it as an end. Still, you did a remarkably good job of coaxing out all those loose ends surrounding Pope's demise. It's why you're still alive. You can't live on the edge all your life, Faith. Sooner or later, you have to jump.
I really only have to do the walls that are like bumpy. Like I don't have to do the smooth ones. Thankfully. Because the mesh collider can just take care of those. Oops.
No denying it, that is pretty satisfying. Rather on the nose with the line you have to jump. We started the game leaping to a helicopter, and we end it that way too. Jackknife falls to his death, Kate and Faith embrace, and the main menu theme kicks in, but this time it's the full song version. ending song is called Still Alive, and it's beautiful. Unfortunately, only 3 years later, Portal 2 would have an ending song also called Still Alive, which causes a bit
I
of
mean, that's
confusion.
Portal
And
1.
that's Mirror's Edge, a
That's
rather
like 2007.
movement-based, highly stylized parkour game. You can finish the story in about 4 to 5 hours, with each level being between 20 and 30 minutes if you don't speedrun. But let's be real, speedrunning is exactly why you play this game. It is literally a game about running fast. It is built for the speedrunning community. And after I'd finished replaying this game to get the footage for this video, I went back and replayed every level on hard mode. Because finally completing a route that you spot without runner vision, when you're not told, hey, use this jump, climb this ladder, use this drain pipe. Finishing a level because you have found the parkour route through it is incredibly satisfying. When the game just flows, it is totally worth it, and replaying does not get boring because you just keep trying different routes. So now we've actually finished Mirror's Edge, both normal and hard mode, we've gone back and experienced it all again, we can answer the simple question: was it actually any good? Mirror's Edge took a risk, choosing to focus on refining a single system, that of fluid movement, into a whole game, and it straddles that line between game and really advanced tech experience. Indeed, reviews at the time said it would be the type of experience that future game design courses would need to use as an example of doing one thing really well, but not quite being confident enough in that one system being strong enough to carry a whole game, so adding in extra systems you think enhances it, which ironically is actually what bogs it down and detracts from the strength of that one system. At only 4 hours, it is very much relying on the player's enjoyment of the system to drive replayability. And replay it you likely will, because the movement system is terrific. Both the flow and choice of paths through the levels, the bold artistic style, the strong use of primary colors, the lighting system, the integrated techno music. Being in the moment when you play Mirror's Edge, running and flowing, is brilliant. However, the story isn't paced well enough or given long enough to really be emotionally engaging, and the forced combat sections go so against the core focus of the game, they actively harm it. Being forced to step away from the game's strength, the mechanical movement, to either engage with a narrative you're not fully invested in or to just shoot something isn't good. No one says, oh my god, Mirror's Edge, I remember that game. I loved the bit where you got to shoot the guns. Ultimately, it is still a game worth playing just to see what kind of experience a single great system can give a player, and also how diluting that system with tacked on, less fleshed out systems can harm it. So, to end the review, I will award Mirror's Edge...
You better learn how to run.
Running is what I do best.
...out of 10. Cheers for watching. Another massive thank you to all the supporters on Patreon and Twitch who keep the channel alive. You can support from only £1 a month. Check the video description for links to the Patreon, Twitch, Twitter, and our Discord. And as usual, remember...
You can't live on the edge all your life, Faith! Sooner or later, you have to jump!
That has been dormant for over 50 years. Humanity has all died out to an... I started a manga recently called Usuzumi no... an android
How are
world
they gonna
on a
play?
post-apocalyptic Earth that has been
Not bad.
dormant for over 50 years.
I'll go do some here,
Humanity has
but-
all died out to an alien pathogen that preserves your body in crystals. Your cadaver will not decompose. If you would have been a human that caught this condition 50 years ago, you'd have a few hours before it finally took you, and one of the things that makes this manga interesting is that because their bodies are preserved, you see how people chose to spend their final hours. One chapter, we find a man painting a portrait of his lover. In another, the girl sees where people have fought off one of the aliens, seemingly in an attempt to protect something. A few pages later, we see what that something was. In one chapter, the girl finds her way into a cinema, and curiously, one of the projectors next to a corpse is still running. Almost like a TV that was never turned off after the one watching it fell asleep. A movie is being shown 50 years after anyone is there to see it. But as she enters the theater, she notices a figure seated in one of the rows. It's a robotic head and torso wired to the projector. And after speaking with this being, she finds out that it is nothing more than a copy automation, a machine that has had the personality data of the man in the film room ported into its artificial brain. In his final breaths before death, this man essentially transferred his consciousness into a new body so that he could spend as much time as possible doing what he loves, watching films. And to me, there's something simultaneously bleak yet beautiful about this chapter, seeing two almost people, a tiny echo of humanity, just sitting and watching a movie about humanity to pass the time after the end of the world. The automation comments, even though those people and their world may be gone, they will not cease to exist as long as we are around to watch their movie. And I thought that was a lovely sentiment. But what continued to haunt me well after I finished this chapter was that automation of the film buff, the thought of what it must be like to wake up and find yourself running no longer on flesh and blood, but on circuitry and a motherboard. To no longer look with the eyes you were born with, but with cameras transmitting data to a copy of your consciousness. To know that your every thought was being simulated, and furthermore, wonder if the emotions you were feeling when you watched these films were real. Reading this chapter was one of the remarkably few times I've consumed media that made me feel genuine existential dread. We joke about that phrase a lot, right? Oh man, you're turning 30 next month? Don't let the existential dread set in. And I get it, believe me, I do, but I mean sincere, shivering, staring off into space, existential dread. What I want to talk about today are games and other media that use this mind-uploading trope to, well, the only way that I can describe it is, they haunt me the most when I wake up from sleeping. They only bother me when I suddenly remember I'm alive, which
Me
I
too,
recognize sounds
friend.
insane, but I hope I can paint a picture of what I mean for you by the time this video is done. And by the way, you don't need to worry about me. This doesn't happen every time I wake up, and even when it does, I still sleep fine at night. But yeah, these are the stories that give me actual existential dread because they are about existing and how exactly we define that. If you liked these videos, you're gonna like this one. There will be spoilers for each story, but most of them are a few years old, and I'll dance around specifics as best I can. Timestamps will be on screen as well if you'd like to skip anything, so don't sweat that. Just take a deep seat, find a blanket and a hoodie and maybe your dog, and let's talk about waking up.
Hey, buddy. What's up, man? Alright, that should be good for the walls of this place. Yeah.
Soma is a game that is based on a lie, but I won't tell you exactly what that lie is just yet. What I will tell you is that the year is 2015 and Simon Jarrett is not having a very good Saturday. He's been having headaches from brain damage sustained in a car wreck. To get some help with this and to assist a friend with their thesis, Simon has agreed to have his brain scanned, a harmless procedure. However, once the scan is finished, he wakes up in a drastically different location, Pathos 2, a mining facility that after a world-ending comet hits the Earth sometime after the 2060s, was then converted into a launch facility capable of sending satellites and other crafts into space. The year is now 2104. Humanity is on the brink of extinction, and upon slowly learning all of this and that his consciousness was transferred from his body in 2015 into this artificial body almost 100 years later, is obviously a lot to process. This premise works very well in Soma because, after all, it is a horror game. There's a looming sense of despair that hangs over every corner you turn. You're playing as a consciousness, not a person. Simon's life, his family, his friends, his career, his body, everything he has ever known or ever been is dust in the wind. He is just data drawn from someone that once lived 90 years ago. Not only is the Simon he once was gone, but any hope of a future is also gone now that the world is in ruin. However, the knowledge that consciousness can be transferred gives him a glimmer of hope when he meets Dr. Catherine Chun, who tells him about something called the Ark. You see, Catherine is like Simon. She no longer has a physical body. She has been uploaded into a mechanical one, much like a lot of the faculty here. And Catherine's job has been to develop a place for all of their minds to go, a virtual world where they can all live in harmony for the rest of eternity, an artificial heaven that they can ascend to and be at peace. This Ark exists in a server that you will spend the game trying to find so that you can transfer Simon and Catherine's minds into and launch into space. Which, if you finish the game, predictably, you successfully do. Simon wakes up on the Ark. It is warm and magnificent. Even if he is no longer technically human, this is still okay, right? This is real enough, right? This is better than death, right? Signalis is a survival horror game that takes place in a rundown facility called the S-23 Sierpinski. Elster is a replica unit, an artificial human searching for the girl in this photo. And throughout your time with the game, Elster will begin to have visions and memories that seem out of place. You'll also begin to find files about replica units like Elster. Elster herself is an Elster unit, built for combat. Other units like Yules are built for office work. But it slowly becomes clear that these replicas are not technically built as much as they are copied. There are documents left to the humans who are in charge of replicas explaining how to handle their behavior that stems from their quote-unquote original neural patterns. The implication being that there was someone there before. These documents describe the personalities these units have, as well as fetish objects that may be given to them to stabilize their persona. Storches, for example, are described as unstable, needing patience and supervision. Allow them to shower or bathe as a way to stabilize their persona. Make sure Euler units have access to music and a mirror. Their original neural pattern was a ballet dancer, but be sure not to play music or movies for your Elster unit. Their original neural pattern was that of a war veteran. Do not speak to them too much. One replica writes in his journal about a dream from his human life, and you realize that the Elster unit you are playing is having the visions she is having because her mind is corrupted by memories from her previous life, from the person that was used as a foundation for her consciousness. It's not unlike the Sleeper you take the role of in Citizen Sleeper, a tabletop-inspired narrative RPG.
Also, it's dope as hell. I've never heard of this.
The Sleeper, like Elster, is a copy of a real person. They have memories from their previous life.
Lesbian appliances
are incomplete.
The best
They
game.
struggle to explain how foreign it feels to suddenly feel whole for a moment when a memory returns to them, only for it to then slip away just as quickly, as if you've just forgotten something important and can't seem to bring it back. As if you've awoken from a dream, left only with the emotion of what was happening, but none of the details. The writing used to describe the Sleeper's conflict between building new memories only for the old ones to then return and confuse them is stirring, and there's no shortage of this kind of language in Signalis, typically seen in one of Elster's nightmarish memories. It calls me in a sea of flesh. We will become one, but I can never go back to being me. Another makes a reference to a dream about dreaming. This video is serendipitously sponsored by the Manta Sleep Mask, and having used it several times now, I can guarantee that it does not transfer your consciousness back to the show. Gwen Coe wakes up from a procedure and immediately notices that something, in fact nothing, is quite right. When she returns home, little things like the entryway to her apartment building feel simultaneously familiar and foreign, like she belongs here but is also unwelcome. She feels affection for her daughter Jules, despite also having sworn that they have never met. She is vexed by the music that Jules plays during her homework and asks her to turn it off, despite it being a song that Gwen has always liked. There is a tension between Gwen and her daughter, and eventually it comes to blows when Jules asks,
"Where's my mother?"
Get back to work.
"You're not her."
What you don't know is that this is one of the later scenes in the movie, but you might have guessed that the reason for Jules feeling this way is because this woman is not fully Gwen. This woman is actually Gwen, and she's the one we spend time getting to know for the first half of the film. You see, in this terrible dystopian future, employment is hard to come by, especially for women past a certain age. And despite how brilliant Gwen Co is, corporate heads feel she is a little long in the tooth to be the face of the company anymore, so she is being let go. As a single mom without money, she cannot pay for Jules to go to a good school, and she cannot guarantee a future for either of them. The job search is a continual dead end, and tuition is coming due. Out of options, she turns to the medical product she has been promoting at work. She agrees to be the first real test subject. Gwen will have her consciousness transferred into a younger, more marketable body, one that can remain in her position at work, guaranteeing Jules a future. She is obviously reluctant and pursues every other course of action, but ultimately, she goes through with it. Her body breathes its last breath, and her new body awakens to fill the role her old one no longer could. The movie Advantageous is an uncomfortable watch, but it kind of results in a happy ending. Jules has a future. Gwen rekindles her friendship with her family on the other side of this, and her daughter even begins to learn to love this new version of Gwen. And as we go to credits, it seems that all is okay. They did it. Except this ending is built on a lie, because in this scene, Jules was telling the indisputable truth when she says,
"You're not her."
I'm going to show you the lie that Soma is built on, and to do that, I have to show you the ending again, unedited this time.
Still here. I'm still here. Catherine? Catherine?
I'm here.
What the hell happened? What went wrong?
Nothing. They're out there, among the stars. We're here.
No. We were getting on the Ark. I saw it. It finished loading just before it launched.
Yeah, I saw.
Then why are we still here?
Simon, I can't keep telling you how it works. You won't listen. You know why we're here. You were copied onto the Ark. You just didn't carry over. You lost the coin toss.
There is an assumption that people usually make when they consume stories with this mind-uploading trope. It's an assumption that I made the first time I played Soma, and an assumption that we all sort of make when we are in the middle of a sweet dream. And that assumption is that the other us, the us in the dream, in the arc, or in the new body, is us. That our consciousness moves into this new reality when in fact another reality was created, but we're still here. We believe that since Simon is just data now, that he can be transferred anywhere, we presume that the man in the theater has escaped death. He's just trapped in a seat now. We can accept that Gwen has moved into a new body. She's just recovering from such an intense procedure. But as we find out later in Advantageous, the new Gwen does not have the original Gwen transferred over. Gwen is not piloting this new body. Her memories and emotions have just been ported onto someone else's brain, not unlike Elster. This woman's memories are not her own. Jules' mother really is gone. She perished when her synapses were all fried in the replication process. The man in the theater is dead. He merely left a copy of himself to continue enjoying what he once loved. He did not wake up in an artificial body. An artificial body woke up
forever, Jesus.
thinking it was him. And the same can be said for Simon. He is nothing more than a reproduction, a snapshot, feeling every bit of desperation that the original would be feeling upon this realization at the end of the game.
We're gonna die down here with those fuckers living at large on a spaceship. They're not us. They're not us.
The ending of Soma was a mindfuck by every definition. It made me angry, it made me cold, it made me lonely. Why do I care about some other me out there? It's not really me if I'm not the one being that me. I sympathize with Simon's rage, and that final scene has stayed with me to this day because it vocalized a terrifying sensation that until viewing, I've never been able to articulate. That feeling of waking up from a dream that felt so intensely real, only to all at once remember upon waking that you can't stay. You can't take anything back with you, no matter what or who it may be. The sensation of being ripped from one consciousness into another after being so sure that you were the one standing on the beach and not the one with work in an hour. The feeling that you didn't make it on the ark, and being confronted with the reality that despite being teased with the promise of immortality, the promise of a sweet dream, reality is inescapable. There's a comment I read on a Reddit post a few years back that really captures this as well. Whether this person is telling the truth or not, who knows, but the story itself is chilling. A man is knocked unconscious after being physically attacked, and while he is laying there on the pavement, he lives an entire life. In this alternate world, he finds love, gets married,
There we go,
has
Jesus.
children, and he describes this world with intimate details, how long it took to get his partner to agree to marry him, how he would go into his children's room every morning before work for years to dote on them. By his account, this life was every bit as real to him as the one you woke up to this morning. However, one day, he notices that something is desperately wrong about the lamp on the table next to his couch. He stares at it, confused, and the confusion doesn't leave. It's maddening how off this lamp looks, so he stares and stares night after night until his family begins to be concerned for him, until one day, the realization hits him. The lamp is not real, nor is this house, or his wife, or his children, and then he awakens, bloodied and bruised on the sidewalk, somehow simultaneously ages, yet moments later. It is a brutally sad read, but it almost perfectly illustrates what it is about all these stories that haunts me to the core. Dreams replicate reality, and even if a few moments after you wake up, reality settles back into
Oh wait, I'm dumb.
just becomes
I just
any other
did the
day,
exact same thing I just
for a
did.
split second, for an unshakable instant as your eyes open, it's tough to tell which is the dream and which
Oh, I'm so dumb.
is reality. Was what I
Oh, well,
just
that's
saw
okay.
a dream?
7 minutes
Really
wasted isn't too much.
Did I know it was a dream? How would I know if this is a
I'm
dream?
so my head is so
Is
empty.
this a dream?
I just did the same thing I did last night. I forgot I did
I
it.
realize that this is a lot. There's a reason it's taken me over a year to finally put pen to paper on this script, but I think it's because I didn't want to leave you here in the final scene of Inception wondering if the video you're even watching is real. I know I said at the beginning that this feeling overwhelms me some mornings when I wake up, and that's true, but it's only gotten better with time, and I think that's because the more I've marinated on these stories and the more I've consumed like them, there's something comforting that I was missing. A forest that I couldn't see for the trees, and to illustrate
I will get rid of these.
we need to revisit Signalis. Near the end of Elster's journey, we find her very close to reuniting with the girl in the picture, who I understood to be the lover of the woman that Elster is a copy of. Elster is looking for the woman from her implanted memories, from her life before she was a replica. And as she wanders this final empty stretch before her destination, there are no signs of life whatsoever. No more enemies, no other replicas, until she walks past several other Elster units, all in the same place she has been headed this entire time. And I won't tell you what happens next. I won't tell you if this Elster unit was successful, but I will tell you that what I find so grand about this story is that although it takes place perhaps several hundred years after the girl in the photo is gone, several hundred years after the woman that was used as a neural base for Elster is gone, the copy of her consciousness, this physical manifestation of her dreams, is still searching for her lost partner. The memories have guided her back to this place each and every time. No matter how many previous Elster units fail, a new one awakens with these same memories booted up, determined to find that which she has lost. Each Elster's actions is like the song of a dead musician ringing throughout an abandoned building, a movie showing in an abandoned theater. The recording of this person's love is continuing to play well after that person is gone. Except the recording isn't musical notes or well-acted scenes, it's a drive for this copy to forever search for what can never be found. A character in Citizen Sleeper describes the emulation of the sleeper as the people that made them splitting a shadow from its caster. And that's what I see when I look at Elster's journey. The shadow of a person's love being cast hundreds of years into the future, long after the one who originally cast it is gone. Now there is more to the story here, and there is a dispute among the Signalis community about who exactly this girl really is, but I'm respecting spoilers as best I can. Go play the game, it's worth it. And then go debate in the subreddit, because they still can't figure out what in the Kingdom Hearts is going on with some of the details here. But this is my interpretation, and in a way, it recontextualized the ending of Soma for me. It became less about the broken promise of cheating death and more about the question, would you be happy knowing that another you will wake up, even if you aren't there to see it? Does it bother you that you won't get to see what people say at your funeral? Would you feel better about death if some piece of you is left behind to continue in your stead, even if you won't be there to observe it? And after one particular story that isn't Signalis, the ending of Soma became even less provocative and somehow peaceful. And that story is Goodbye Eri. This is a short one-shot manga that's written by the mind behind Chainsaw Man. It is around 200 pages, and it will only take about an hour to read, which I highly recommend. To me, it is a masterpiece, but unfortunately, I do have to spoil quite a bit of it. Though you should know, like Signalis, it is very open to interpretation what exactly in this story is real and what isn't. So what I'll be spoiling is my take on it, what I think happened here. And I'll do it in such a way that if you've never read it and don't intend to go read it, you'll still fully understand what's happening. So, with that said, Yuta has been given a task by his dying mother. She wants him to record videos of her leading up to her death so that Yuta and his father have something to remember her by. The clips he records of her are tender. The woman that fills the frame is kind, loving, everything that embodies a wonderful mother. The few clips of his father are heart-wrenching as you see a man truly doing his best to keep himself together for his family's sake. His wife is dying, but he can't let that keep them from enjoying their last days together. Eventually, they must go to the hospital one last time. His mother doesn't have long, and it's time to record her final moments. But instead of going to see his mother, Yuta takes off running. His father calls for him, but he is not stopping because...
Oh! Hello? What happened? What the hell?
Cut to a high school gymnasium where the film is being shown, and the reactions from Yuta's classmates range from disgusted to confused. They mock him incessantly, laugh in his face. And after dealing with the reality of his mother's actual death and now the backlash of this creative endeavor, he decides to take his life. And on the roof of the hospital he plans to leap off of, just as he is about to put a foot up on the guardrail, someone stops him. A strange girl who recognizes that he is the one who made the Exploding Mother movie. She drags him away to an abandoned building. They sit down on a couch, and without saying more than a few words, they watch movies for hours. It's only when the marathon has ended that she clarifies what exactly they've been doing. Her name is Eri. She wants him to watch more movies. She wants him to make another movie because she actually liked his film. And as time goes on, we see the two of them spend quite a bit of time together. Yuta is still recording a lot of his daily life because that's just kind of what he does at this point, and consequently, he films a lot of his time with Eri. They watch movies, she reads scripts he writes, they talk about the movies they watch until finally, Yuta has an idea. He is going to make a sequel to his original film that is essentially exactly what happened to him after he showed it. The protagonist is devastated after his first movie flops, and it all stems from his inability to film his mother's death. He goes to take his life and then meets a vampire who then makes him watch movies. Of course, this vampire is to be played by Eri.
I do regret to inform you, though, that I am getting close to the end of the stream, at least for now.
Something that has not happened.
But it was very nice having you.
That this vampire doesn't have long to live, and that filming
But I do need to go, 1, make some lunch, 2, I need to get a package off of the front porch, and 3, I need to do some housework. So, I will pause the video for now. But this was fun. Thank you all for coming. And, hopefully, next time you see me, I will be a little bit further. And I feel like we're getting... Like, I have, like, what, like 9 days? 9 days. 9 days. So that's a good amount of time. If I could get this much done in just 9 days, or like however long it's been, like 7 days, I can probably do this. I think I can do this. This is fun. So anyway, I will see all of you later. And yeah, good luck at work today. Hope it goes well. It continues to go well. And I hope you guys find a reason to smile today. Love you all. Goodbye.